So I have to be accountable because the last Batman Space I hosted was Bars for Batman, and we went in on Batman. And if you type my name into Twitter search and Batman at all, you will see that I will slander this man. That does not mean that this was not an amazing movie. I'm sharing tweets at the top. Speakers, feel free to share tweets at the top as well, just to get the convo going. That's fire. This is real composing here. All right. I had to let that one rock because y'all know how I feel. So it looks like I'm the only woman on stage. Oh, there we go. Hi, Imani. Yo, what up, everyone? Welcome to What We Watch. Follow What We Watch on TV and
What up? What up?
What's poppin'?
definitely subscribe to whatwewatch.net. All right. Everybody texts me when they get out of this movie and they're like, yo, we got to talk. Where's this space? Let's get it. What we watch. So I'm sharing some tweets at the top. Those of you in the audience, you can scroll over. Those of you that are speaking can also share some of your tweets. Let's start off with your first feelings of your first watch. This is how I kind of like just to get warmed up. How did you feel initially? You know, this is What We Watch. We're sharing what we enjoyed, what we noticed, what we loved. So I'm gonna just call on some people. There's not even gonna be any hand raising this time. I'm gonna call on you. You be ready to speak because you've told me y'all are ready to speak. Y'all have watched this movie plenty of times. So let's get into it. Imani, how you feeling about the movie?
Yeah, it was amazing. So I have a really cool experience. I was really lucky. I worked the New York premiere of the movie on Tuesday, and because of it, I was able to finesse my way into the official screening. And I bring this up because it wasn't shown in a movie theater, it was shown in a concert hall in New York that's retrofitted for classical music. So the acoustics were out of this world. It was so, I've never heard a movie that loud before. And I say this because when I saw it again on Friday, it was quiet because that's how loud it had been on my first try. And I say that because it really stuck out to me how fucking glorious that score is. It was magnanimous, literally watching it so loudly that when I saw it again on Friday and it still held up, it was kind of like it was quiet. So that's just the first thing I want to say. It was just that score is beautiful, and just hearing it, I'm literally gonna remember that experience probably forever. What a way to see a movie for the first time. And I knew it was good because when the cast got up to leave, everyone stood up and gave them a standing ovation for 5 minutes before they walked out. And I was like, yeah, this movie's good. And it held up when I
have a
saw
good
it
question
5 days
for
later.
Imani.
Yeah.
Go finish Imani, and then you can go, Henry. Were you done, Imani?
Yeah, I was just saying, it was just so amazing that, you could just tell everyone immediately knew, this shit was good. And then, still, I wanted to see it again, when it cooled off, the hype. So I waited and I saw it again on Friday. And it held up to me. It was still amazing.
2 hours ago, it's etched in my brain. I'm taking notes. We're going to get into the fucking favorite scenes. I can't wait to
the cinematography, the acting,
but
the comics, everything. We're all going to get into it. I don't want to keep talking so someone else can talk.
You had a question for Imani, Henry?
Yeah, you mentioned the acoustics. When the Batmobile revved up, did you feel your soul leave your body? Because that was
I literally did, because I was in the upper level of the concert hall, because it literally houses 10,000 people, and I was right on the side. So I kid you not, I heard it so loudly in my eardrums. It was beautiful.
The sound design is nuts in this movie.
And the Batmobile is cool. They had the Batmobile at the premiere. It was really fucking cool.
I didn't want to start off being horny, but fuck it. Let's talk about how I felt about the engine revving up in that entire car scene. Okay. Um, I watched it in 4DX, and let me tell you, my friend, that was a sexy and fun time. It's giving me horror, it's giving me sexy, it's giving me fun. It's I highly recommend, if you have access and affordability, to attend a 4DX show of the Batman. Do it. It is a fucking fantastic time. And do it on your second watch. Obviously, all of you in here, I assume that you've seen it. So yeah, I'm just gonna get that out the way. I literally was like, I think I need to watch this in 4DX, because when that car started revving up and the Batmobile started revving up, I said, I think I need to feel that. That's hot. Brandon, welcome. You and I have spoken. Is it Brandon or Bam? Bam.
It is Brandon,
It's,
but
we've
Bam.
spoken. Give
Yeah.
the audience the condensed version. Your first thoughts of the film.
Oof, condensed version. Well, that's hard to do, but I'm gonna do it. Condensed, like, my first thoughts seeing the movie. I mean, we can all say like it was, it's great. The score was there. The lighting, Gotham finally felt like Gotham and not like New York with a different name tag slapped on it. I think some of my personal affectations about this iteration of Batman is how heavy Batman himself felt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, first thing I said when we were introduced to Batman, I was like, this is Darth Vader. This is that plotting,
Yeah,
mechanical,
I haven't heard
fear-inducing,
like that.
yeah, heavy, that gravitas. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
like the devil is coming for you. And then it just, the devil happens to be our hero. So it was interesting in seeing it like that, and seeing how everyone in Gotham responds to him, even though he's not there. That fear is really being captured. Um, Again, love what they did with Selena Kyle. A lot of times, Selena starts off, being like I told you, Mo, like in the upper class, but no, this time they took away her being an upper class rich white woman and made her a lower class woman of color who doesn't know a daddy. Well, knows a daddy, but the daddy doesn't know her, and she's looking at the city through a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated, like, the struggle that gave her character and the arc that gave her character. Um, the Riddler, this
Love that.
reiteration of him was cool. He was at the Capitol on January 6th. Loved what they did with that. Um, and we're gonna dive deeper in as the conversation goes, but just how they organized the film and made Batman feel like the protect, like, not to knock a different Batman series, but to knock a different Batman series. The Dark Knight trilogy always felt like Batman was overshadowed by his villains, and here we have
And
Batman as our focus, and we're
like
moving with
me, no problem with that. But yes, that is actually 100% fair, and I think Jamel, you and I have spoken about that too, about the Nolan films. But here's the thing, and thank you for bringing up Selena Kyle, because I will say that I already broke my own rule, but first 30 minutes, and I'm starting the timer right now. First 30 minutes, no horniness for Zoe. We're going to talk about her performance as an actress, as Selena Kyle, the writing and everything, and also no comparisons to any Nolan films. None of them. So that's just going to be the first rule for the first 30 minutes. I want y'all to talk to me like 3 words to describe your first few feelings about the movie and what you felt about what you saw. Shout out to Matt Reeves. Shout out to Michael Giacchino. I want to hear your takes from that. So that's my rule. I already broke my horniness rule, but still no horniness right now. Let's get into your first few feelings like that. So I'm gonna call on Henry. Go ahead.
I was surprised at like how grounded this movie was. Like, I know we're not talking about the Nolan movies or anything, but yeah, this movie was just so totally grounded, and it was the Detective Batman movie I've always wanted. Like, give me
Mm-hmm.
give me Batman at a crime scene, like doing forensic shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I feel that. I respect that. Chad. All right, now I'm always very hesitant to let you speak. Chad.
That's a bad idea to let me speak. But you know what? Watching this movie, my first thought was this was like watching the Batman Arkham video game series. Like it felt
Mm.
like Batman, like it felt like reading the comic in live action because most superhero movies are just like interpretations of, you know, like basically I felt like watching Sin City, like watching the comic book happen in front of my eyes. And the sound was sploosh, you know, if I could just, just
Sploosh
inject
is
that
a good
into my
word.
veins. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. What do you mean? Why wouldn't a
What?
sploosh be good? What's going on here?
I've never heard
Also,
sploosh before. I was just double checking.
had you not watched Archer, please remove him from the stage. Remove him from the stage, please. But
No,
but
that's
one
my
thing is,
co-host.
but one thing is, I felt vindicated because first of all, I made a joke when Twilight came out about Robert Pattinson being a good Bruce Wayne, but also I have a whole Twitter thing I gotta go find that I did a whole layout of them making the next Batman movie, noir. So I feel vindicated, and I can go,
Damn, yeah. No,
die.
I want receipts. You know what we watch always? Receipts. Come on in. No receipts about me and my slander for
I'll
Batman.
be back.
That's not
I'll be
allowed
back.
here. But and I own my shit. Here's the thing. First of all, a heart sign with the plus emoji in the bottom right. Are you a Batman fan, a Batman stan? Clap if you are a Batman fan and or stan in this space. Clap. I need to see where we're at with it right now. Heart sign, heart, the plus sign emoji at the bottom, or the plus sign at the bottom. Click the clapping emoji if you are a Batman fan and or stan. Peace emoji if you just be chilling on Batman and you're like, he cool, but like he's nowhere near my favorite. Peace emoji if you're like, yeah, whatever. Batman is cool. Like it's fine. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, a lot of Batman stands in here. Okay. So just know this is a safe space for Batman slander, but I have no Batman slander for this film in particular.
It is not a safe space. Don't
It
let
is
her
a
lie to you.
safe space.
It is not a safe space.
It is a very safe space for Batman slander. I want to let, matter of fact, B, I was going to go to you next, King Henry. First few thoughts.
What's going on? Oh, it felt fresh. Just like finally like a detective Batman. Like the fact that he was in, year two, he's still kind of, emo. I saw an emo version of Bruce Wayne, but would not hesitate to beat your ass. Like the fact that it was hardly no gadgets, no smoke, no. I think the only thing he used was the taser and the grapple gun. That's it.
Right.
Other than that, he beat your ass. Period. And I love that. I love that. Like finally, someone that can actually like fight. And like I said, the cinematography in this movie, man, my God, like amazing. That the Batmobile scene alone was awesome. And
I'm telling you.
to take your I'm in Atlanta. I'm actually going to find a 4DX theater. I will go see that the next time. Like, because I saw it in IMAX. I first saw it, it was like regular. And I saw it in IMAX. I was like, nah, I need something better. I need that sound because the soundtrack is amazing. So the fact that you said 4DX, I'm going to find a 4DX theater.
Look, I don't
this week.
Anything lightly. I take all my recommendations very seriously.
Yeah.
So absolutely,
Yeah,
not kidding. You will have a great time. 4DX. If you're a little too old, if you're 36, you might get a little headache. Take you some Advil. God bless y'all. Ray, welcome to the stage.
Yo, what up? What up? I love this movie. I love noir, and just the first opening felt like set the tone for the entire movie. It set the tone how this Batman was looked at by the world, by criminals, by cops, by just each section of people in the city, how they viewed him, and the parallels they drew between him and Riddler the entire movie. I thought set up the kind of the Arkham standoff scene with them together talking. It set it up throughout the entire movie. And it felt like watching the animated series to me, where each week in a series they gotta make you feel like you gotta be there. Like, why am I here? Oh, because this grounded or this character is gonna be a serious threat, no matter what the episode was. And for this film, I kept my creative on and thinking, oh, this is such a grounded world that you could put so many villains into this movie, into this franchise, and they would probably all have some type of weight to it. Yeah, that's how I felt.
And I'm listening to y'all. Y'all know I listen to y'all. The word grounded is being said at least 2 or 3 times now, and I wonder why we are celebrating a grounded Batman movie. And I know there's something behind that. So, Car, welcome. Did you finally make it home, Car?
Yes, I did. I actually just walked in. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we sure can.
Okay.
Talk to me.
Man, I loved every aspect of the movie. With everyone talking about it being grounded. I feel what you're saying. You know what I mean? I don't think comic book movies need to be grounded in reality a lot of the times because that takes away from it being a comic book movie. But it works so well here because we really needed to see everyone's opinion on this vigilante, the vigilante that nobody even gave a name. Like, I thought that was one great thing. He calls himself Vengeance. He didn't even come out the gate like, oh, I'm going to be called the Batman. Mm-hmm. He just didn't have a name. His whole purpose was to scare the shit out of people. Even Jim Gordon didn't even call him, he calls him Man. He calls him Man the whole time. Catwoman over there calling him Vengeance and stuff like that. I think how everybody reacts to this guy is one of my favorite things about it because in reality, if there's a 6-foot guy dressed in a fucking bat suit prowling the city, we're not gonna leave our homes. Like we're gonna be home. We're not gonna go outside. Like, granted, we're not, criminals. So I don't know about you guys, but we're not, we're gonna like be afraid. And I think that's one good thing that they captured very well here. The fact that Batman doesn't start off as this hopeful, some beacon of light. You know what I mean? He's a madman. He should not be deputized by Gotham PD. Like, he should not be allowed to do a lot of things that he does. So that's why I really like the fact that even the police officer's like, whoa, hey, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing here? You're in cosplay. What's going on? You know what I mean?
Right.
Everyone's saying that this reminds them of the animated series, and I get that because this is the only movie that Batman is in costume 90% of the time. He's walking the streets in costume. The only time you see that stuff is in the animated or the book. So I thought it was just done very, very well there. I love how hopeless Gotham was. Gotham wasn't. He lost at the end, essentially. You know what I mean? He lost. He needs to lose in order to figure out how to get things right.
So, and I like this. I want to be clear. I am not a Batman stan. I am not too familiar with the source material. And I would like to say my first few feelings. First of all, not them having a Black Latina mayor. None of y'all recognize that.
A real change.
Bella Real, muchas gracias. Okay, best Batman movie just off the strength of them having that. Secondly, Selena Kyle knows how to flirt, honey. Good for her. The second viewing made me realize like the power that Selena Kyle had. Selena Kyle, Catwoman, Zoe Kravitz, what she was doing and how that helped Batman tremendously. Being flirtatious helped Batman solve a lot of the riddles. Okay, so that was that. Andy Serkis is a fantastic Alfred to me. I don't know how y'all feel about that. I've seen everybody have their, Catwoman conversations, their Batman conversations. I don't see everybody having the Alfred conversations. I think Serkis did a fantastic job. Is it Serkis? Am I saying it right? Henry, check me.
You saying it right.
Yeah.
On the second watch, I also recognize that Batman has a really squeaky suit. I say that with love. I do. I say that with love. His suit is very squeaky. It's like the SpongeBob boots episode.
That's why he's walking so slow all the time.
I love it, but it's very squeaky. It's giving. What does a liar do when he's dead is like full on bars. And this is just like, again, this is surface level. We're going to get deep into this movie, but this is like surface level. Also, I feel like those contacts should exist in real life. I think they should exist. I think that's a thing. That should be a thing. Did y'all notice in the penguin scene where we found out who's bad at Spanish that they made the penguin walk like a penguin? when
Yeah,
he was,
hit
and
that
Yeah,
I
because
water
he was
hard,
chained
and
up.
I fell out.
I
Mm.
was
Oh yeah.
like, that is the type of fucking detail that
And
I
people say this movie
stand.
wasn't
I
funny.
mean, I
Like, are
This
mean,
you
Yeah.
the
kidding
penguin
me?
always walks like that mode in all iterations the penguin has. I mean, they call him a gimp. Falcone calls him a gimp. Just cut him
but
off.
what I'm saying though is that they did that intentionally, and it was comedic and it was fun, and I had a good time. Some of my favorite bars was, what does a liar do when he's dead? He lies still. The other one was when Paul Dano had the bars in the Riddler. He was like, my mask allowed me to be myself completely with no shame. I really liked that too. And that's kind of the themes. I can't wait for us to get into the sins of the father, because I was really excited as a screenwriter. I've been writing and reading a lot about the sins of the father and what follows that, and how it follows you as, the child or the son, right? We know that whole quote. So those are my first few feelings. I was just like, Selena Kyle be flirting, and thank God she's a good flirter. Like, you need a good flirter on your team, clearly. And her nails were perfectly done, and I think she had a great performance. And I think they used her just enough in that movie. I really appreciate a good balance between the bat and the cat. And I think Matt Reeves found it perfectly. So I want to welcome Jay Lee JNR. Hi. First few thoughts. Jay Lee JNR.
Hey,
Ye
can you hear me?
Mysterio. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Uh-oh, I think my service is bad. Can you hear me?
Can everyone else hear him? Because I can hear
Yeah,
him.
we can hear him. We can hear him just
Yeah, we
fine.
can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, his is messing up. We're going to come back to you. Vaughn, I see you, Vaughn, son. Go ahead.
All right, how everybody doing? Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
All right. My first few thoughts. I was definitely glad Zack Snyder did not do this movie. Because his last couple movies with the DC was not as good. But I liked how it. I liked how it opened up. Just kind of, and then if you guys noticed that, James was actually black, they kind of changed the roles for him as well. I like that type of thing. But for the most part, I was kind of excited. It definitely was a movie like when you thought that shit was over, it wasn't over. I mean, it had like 6 endings to it. And I did not know that movie was that long. But yeah, I, for the most part, enjoyed it. I feel like the plot was there, but it wasn't all there, in my opinion, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I like how I don't know if you all watched the series Gotham, but I kind of picked some of the stuff up from that. So I like how they dug deeper into his family situation, because normally in Batman movies, they don't do that. So I like how they connected his past background with like his father, because if you watched any of the show, they don't really get into the situation with his family like they do in this
Right.
movie. So I like how they kind of backtracked a lot of stuff and made him understand more, because when you look at Martha and, they kind of portray them as, holy and they are for the city. But as it went on and on and on, it just showed that that wasn't how his success, that part of his success was dealt with, lies and manipulation that he couldn't see through, because he looked at his people as being in this light and they really weren't. If that makes sense.
Got it. Okay. We got a little.
And Alfred was a dumbass to me, in my opinion. I didn't like him as Alfred. Like a lot of the times, Alfred is always on top of his shit. It's like he wasn't doing anything.
Okay, so yeah, there was maybe a balance with Alfred. Ashley, welcome. First few thoughts, baby.
Oh
we're
my
gonna get into
god.
the next stuff too.
I loved it, and I love it as someone who is not like a Batman stan or anything like that. I walked into this movie saying, I really hope that I like it, because it's going to be 3 hours, and there have been other movies I've seen where I'm like, this is just too fucking long, and I loved all of it. I loved how dark it was. I loved the pacing of it. I loved the way that colors were used. I did everything, like so much about it just fit so well, and I love that everyone's talking about it being such a grounded film, and how it's like it felt very accurate and like closer to the actual comics, so that it just felt like a different movie than what I had been anticipating.
Mm.
And I really appreciated that because I don't think I hadn't even seen any trailers for it because I just didn't look for it. I was like, I know it's coming out. I don't need to see it. I know that Zoe's in it. I'm sure I'll see it and I'm sure I'll like it. So I went into this like blind and I was so pleased. So pleased. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that. I fully agree. I went in completely blind. Y'all know how I am. I don't watch trailers before big movies like this. I had to close my eyes for the Multiverse of Madness trailer on the second viewing. So,
Mo, I got a quick question for you, Mo.
What up?
So people are talking about the runtime of this movie, right? 3 hours, this and that. If to me, it didn't feel like a 3-hour movie to me personally, but if you have qualms with the runtime, what are you cutting out?
I do not have qualms with the runtime, but before we get there, let's get into it. I want to talk about Matt Reeves as a director. Heart with the plus emoji at the bottom. Do you enjoy other Matt Reeves movies? Are you even aware of the names of other Matt Reeves movies? You know how I am, how we are, and what we watch. I want you guys to know the artists responsible for the work, be familiar. If you love this, you may love something else. I'm going to name a few other Matt Reeves films. Henry, can you name one?
Cloverfield.
I can name one, War of the Planet of the Apes.
Cloverfield.
Anybody else name one up top here?
Let me in.
So I'm gonna be honest, I haven't watched any of his other films outside Cloverfield, but I loved Felicity, so
Okay.
I would check out those Planet of the Apes movies because that series right there is what solidified, or at least like what confirmed to me that he was the perfect person for this iteration of Batman. Those Planet
Big facts.
He also did a vampire movie called Let Me In. I would recommend that for
That's
everybody.
what I was saying.
So I asked that question
Yeah, man,
because
is very good.
because y'all use the word grounded, and raise your hand if you can tell me what you mean by, first of all, what you mean by grounded, and what excitement you felt in that this was a grounded as opposed to what else and what other stuff you've seen. We're still within our 30 minutes, no comparisons to Nolan. So if you can't do that without comparing it to the Nolan films, then save it. We're still on the timer. But I want to let Jamel speak as well, because this movie Matt Reeves gave us horror and romance. I see a lot of people catching the horror, the noir, and all of that, but they're not talking a lot about the romance or the lack thereof, or the tension or the buildup around it, and intimacy or lack thereof. And I think this, if I don't do nothing else, I'm gonna write a horror, I'm gonna write a romance. And I think this does a really good job of showing how Batman expresses himself and how he doesn't express himself in romance. And I really, really like that. So I like that aspect of Batman because it's like this weird kind of, people say brooding, but I don't think it's brooding. It feels like he's brooding, but I don't think that's his like personal feelings, Batman's personal feelings. But go ahead, Jamel. Ooh, lots of hands up.
Okay, so let me get some of my thoughts because I'm on lunch break right now. I'm already over my lunch break. I just had to get in on this space at least for a little bit. But as far as what you're saying, to directly answer that one, personally, number one, I don't think this is as grounded as maybe I think others might feel. I felt as though that this is the first Batman that combined a healthy combination of comic book fucking sort of camp, or not necessarily camp, but just definitely it felt like a comic book movie definitively, and it also felt like a grounded movie, and it mixed those two wonderfully, where other ones have either chosen more of the comic book side. Burton, and you know who we're not going to mention, did more of, to me, that was the more completely grounded film. But when it comes to this one, when you look at and you can look at the differences to me in the other aspect of the movie that at first threw me off a little bit, is that the Penguin is more the comic book realm. The way they're showing him leans more into the ways that comic books wanted to, and it's more leaning towards that. The Riddler has nothing to do with the comic. It's not even, other than the fact that he gives riddles, is just about as far away as you can get. And that is the movie part of him where he brought his references, which was so clearly one of my top 5 movies of all time, Seven. Zodiac is in there too, but he was literally copy cutting and pasting scenes from Seven and putting them into this movie,
and did it well. Did
it extremely well. To your very first question, it took me 2 viewings because when I saw them both in 4DX, but the first time I was kind of thrown off, and there were still a lot of the things that I didn't like. They still remained, but somehow the movie got better. So I wasn't big on Gordon. I wasn't big on these depictions of Selena Kyle. I liked Zoe Kravitz's acting of it and everything stuff. But as far as I was concerned, too many times, just like Snyder's version with Superman, you depower others at the behest of powering up your main hero. So when Snyder wanted to make Superman and show us how powerful Superman is, he started depowering people like Wonder Woman, who many a times has handed Superman his fucking ass. And the same thing here with Selena Kyle. She has a history of giving Batman straight outright work, and to me, to make her where basically all she's doing is he's block, and then he throws her down, and that's the end of the story. And there's really no other time. The same thing with Gordon. He's not really a part of the detecting. He's more like a sidekick that stands there and says, "Yes, yep, you're right. That's where it's at. Okay. We're going there." And to do it when the black people become the role, when you were giving all of these other ones, when you look at the name we won't speak of, but Anne Hathaway, when you go back to Michelle Pfeiffer's, these women had a more full body role in the action, and they were definitely a part of the story, and they were doing things regardless if Batman wanted them to or not. So those were the things that I didn't, but at the end of the day, for the second time and the second viewing, the world building just won me over. The sound design, the score, the full body performance from every single person, all of that stuff. It was just too much to ignore and not to love this movie. And it is, lastly, the definitive, to me, Matt Reeves. To your question about Matt Reeves, I was always a guy that felt like Matt Reeves was so close with everyone in his movies. He never quite won me over to straight out right. Like a lot of the guys that he was doing was like, this is good, but I don't feel it's great. And now he finally made that. Yep. Exactly. Now it's a masterpiece. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Jamel. That was great. Thank you so much for bringing your criticisms too. DCU Mac, I want to let you speak because I know we talked and I know you have a lot to say. I just really quickly also wanted to add in that there's this conversation about this being the best Batman movie, and on top of answering the question about it being grounded, I heard some people explain to me properly what it means when you say this is the best Batman movie, but I'd like to hear a lot of your takes on that too. But Mac, DCU Mac, go ahead, baby. Welcome to What We Watch.
Yeah. No. First off, thank you everybody that's been talking, because oh my gosh, I've been so hyped. My wife is a diehard DC fan. I like DC Comics. You heard of Lobo? I like Lobo. He's an anti-villain. Well, he's an anti-hero. He's crazy, but if you have a chance, look him up. But big shout out to Matt Reeves, because the thing is that's been missing in a lot of Batman films is the ability to put a person of color in a position to stand out in the role in a film like this. Jeffrey Wright, oh my God, man, dude's a genius. He
bodies every single time he's on screen. Every single piece of work that he's done.
Dude is gritty. He is good. I mean, the actress played Selena Kyle. It's not forgive me, my brain is not functioning this evening. I'm just so hyped about this. But the thing that really drives, when I was thinking about the film, I'm a big Watchmen stan. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Watchmen.
We sure have.
The parallels that are drawn between Rorschach and Batman are pretty almost intertwined. Rorschach's a little, he's off kilter, but whenever Batman's narrating in the beginning, it's kind of like a journal entry. Like when Rorschach's talking, he's doing this journal entry in his head. He's like, whatever the date is, something's going on, something. But I don't want to take up a lot of time, but couple of things that really stuck out to me. The first thing was Batman, this was dark, it was gritty, it was perfection. Not to take anything away from the other movies, there's a lot of stands out there for, Joker and all that. I get that. But since I've seen this, I want a longer film. I want something. I want a rated R. I want something just crazy good. Like it can get better. I feel like I would sit there for
I'm
5 or
with
6
you.
hours.
I'm with you.
But yeah, cinematography was just off the charts. If you could play that soundtrack back, please play that soundtrack back. Oh my gosh, I get chills.
I'll close the space out with it. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm glad that because you and Jamel like made me realize, like, Jamel, you were talking about earlier, like depowering and stuff, and like I call it nerfing. And it's interesting you say that because I almost, like, on my second viewing, I was like, there's actually not enough fighting in this movie. I want more. Go ahead and make it 3.5, 4 hours. I want more. I want Batman beating the brakes off of people. I want Catwoman getting his ass or beating his ass. I want more. I don't know. I was like, do I want more out of this 3-hour film already? But thank you, Mac. I can hear the excitement in your voice.
Oh yeah. Oh, hey,
ahead.
one more thing. But to draw parallels between somebody saying that this was like Seven, between David Fincher, how you tie in the Riddler and how that scene where he's looking at the Riddler behind the screen, he's behind glass. That reminded me of crap, I can't remember his name. The actor in Seven. Shoot, you all know.
Talking about Kevin Spacey.
Yep, Kevin Spacey. When imagine him behind glass where he's just taunting Brad Pitt's character. Can you imagine that? And that's Batman going just like he's taunting him as he's marching back and forth. Like, I have this all figured out, and I know this is just chipping away at you, and it's just chipping away, and it's like that intensity builds up, and at the end of the day, everything was right in front of us at all this time, and we never figured it out until the end.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way they did that. It wasn't too like on the nose for me. It wasn't too cheesy or corny, which sometimes mystery detective things can feel like they're not taking themselves seriously. They found that really perfect balance, and I really, really enjoyed that. Like, oh yeah, here's the aha moment, but like aha, but also no, there's more. And I really appreciated them giving us that last piece of that act. Imani, you have your hand up. Did you have an answer? Does anybody have an answer for the grounded thing? Because I saw a lot of hands go up for that. Was that you, Imani?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the grounded thing. Like,
what do y'all mean by that?
Yeah, like I feel like people are actually wrong about that. To me, it was very gritty and gothic. Like, it was very set. Like, when they say realism, we think of, I go to the trilogy of Nolan and how that's clearly set in like New York, Chicago, Pittsburgh. This one is very much, even though it was filmed in Chicago and London, it doesn't look like it. It's Gotham. It's in the middle between Burton and Nolan. It takes the essential parts of both to create something that's very unique to me and feels like it's right off of the panels. So to me, it's not realistic. It's just not campy and over the top.
It's that balance.
It's just correct. And I think
Imani,
people are just overstating.
Thank you, Imani, for saying that. Thank you, Imani, because if you feel like it's grounded, you feel like it's grounded. I'm going to ask you why you feel like it's grounded and why you celebrate a grounded Batman film as opposed to whatever else you've assessed about any other Batman film. You feel me? Chad, I'll let you speak next, but let me let Jay lead. JNR, did you fix your audio, babe?
Yeah, I think I'm good now.
Okay, go ahead. Welcome.
So thank you. So to answer your question about the whole grounded thing, I think it was Selena. I think she's got the right idea. I think when people are saying grounded, what they really mean to say is that the film justifies the existence of certain things.
For example?
Like the Batmobile, maybe, for example. Like, he built that by hand. So I don't know if that necessarily makes it real or makes it grounded, because it still looks like something out of a comic book, but it's justified. Its reason for existing is not just, it is because it was from the comic books. The same thing like with his suit.
So grounded in source material and understanding of Batman. Is that what y'all are saying? Is that what you think people are saying? It's still just you.
And that inspiration of like real life crimes as well. Like, Riddler being based on the Zodiac Killer. Carmine Falcone kind of being an analog for Whitey Bulger, the FBI informant that was just out here killing people, stuff like that.
Okay, go ahead. Finish Jay Lee, JNR. Thank you.
Junior, by the way. Sorry. That's what it is.
Junior?
Yeah,
Okay,
Jay Lee
thank you,
Jr.
Jay Lee
Yeah,
Jr.
no,
Thank you.
no worries,
I
no
don't.
worries. So yeah, that's kind of what I get from it, because it does feel more comic booky. It feels like I was watching the animated series for the first time, really, in a long time. As far as Gotham is concerned, it felt
Mm-hmm.
like a place that um, doesn't exist, but it also still felt very lived in. It felt like you could almost feel it in a way. Um, and that's something that I haven't gotten from Batman in a long time. Another thing that I got from this film was a sense of dread that I haven't felt from a Batman film, where it's you didn't exactly know what was going to happen next, and that was scary for me in a way. Um, they use silence a lot to kind of give you that perception where you're not sure what's going on. Like sometimes it's just where there's nothing, where you don't hear anything. That's where that sense of dread started to build up and started to like, okay, what's gonna happen here? Like when we first kind of see the Riddler for the first time, he's silent, and it was terrifying. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how a Gotham-based story should feel. You can have jokes here and there, but for the most part, I think there needs to be this sense of dread that really sells the point of like why Batman is the only one that can do this, because he's experiencing that sense of dread every day, and he has been since he was a kid. And he finds a way to live in that so that no one else has to. I think that was really really good.
Okay, beautiful. I like that. And I'm gonna throw some words out for you guys too. I see hands up. I'm gonna throw some words out for you guys because this is where the conversation about what this film makes you feel or what you got from it. Noir, horror, romance, realism, and expressionism. Some of those things apply in some ways. Some of them don't apply at all. Some of them apply fully in every aspect of the film. Especially the attempt to have this hyper realism in the movie, and so I'm going to throw those words out and then we'll talk a little bit later about it. But the reason why I asked about it being grounded is because noir, actually elements of noir and like some of the western elements, I don't know if no one said this and maybe I'm like reaching a little bit with the western themes, but it felt very like little hints of western themes in a lot of this movie too, which made it fun, which made it exciting. And Jay Lee Jr., when you're talking about silence, even in the silent parts of the film, it was the score that really carried it and really carried those scenes and the expressions of the actors. And I love that. But I want y'all to sit with like noir because I would never call a film that gives me noir um, grounded because that's kind of inherently that genre of film, that feel of the darkness and stuff actually exudes a lot more like emotional expression and like a departure from like what might actually like standard day to day. It doesn't feel like standard day to day. Like everything is extravagant. And so I don't know that I would ever call a noir film grounded. I'm thinking of like 4 other noir films right now, and I just wouldn't do that. But I see from a Batman perspective, maybe how some of you are saying that. Chad, I saw your hand up.
Okay, all right. Let me calm down real quick. Hold on. All right, so the reason why people think that this is a grounded film is because they don't understand what noir is, and they don't understand noir comes from the pulp comic books before Batman with the Shadow and all those books that were telling these mystery stories and doing this
Mm-hmm.
this this what we would probably binge as a Netflix series or like a movie
Mm.
that we go watch. These pulp comics were that. They were these weekly mystery series that were made to be dark and shadow because they didn't have color comics, so they felt like this, and they got translated into the noirs. They got made into those movies in the 30s, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's when we get that's the original Batman, the Batman with a gun, and so that feels like a detective, Dick Tracy. The feeling we get when we watch like a more toned down Sin City, and
Right. Okay.
people feel like, all right, cool. I'm used to seeing detective stories. I'm used to seeing Seven. I'm used to seeing these films with non ego characters like Batman do these
Uh-huh.
things.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh,
Uh-huh.
that feels grounded. Like, but these are set pieces in this movie. This is theater that we like the reason it
Thank
feels
you.
like it is comic book come life because it's theater. All
Shoot,
those
we lost you, my
pieces are
friend.
theater.
The reason it feels
You
like it's
lost me?
what?
Oh, the reason it
Okay,
feels
we
like
lost
that
him.
is because it's
Yams Casino, I saw your hands up. Hello?
Hey, what's going on?
Can anyone hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear everybody.
Can anyone
All
hear
right,
me?
cool.
We
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can hear
everyone.
you.
all right. I'm back. Is it me? Was it me? Internet
Hello?
bad.
I don't think it was you. I think it was Mo.
I think Mo is messing up.
Hello?
I don't think she can hear.
Did I lose? Can y'all hear me now? I must have.
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
we could always hear you.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear y'all. I don't know what happened just now. Yams Casino, did you hear me calling your name? Sorry, Chad, if I interrupted you. I couldn't hear nobody.
I did, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was waiting for you to fix your technical
Oh,
difficulty.
okay. Go ahead. Thank you.
So I think people have this idea about grounded and like what Batman should be, but really there's been so many different iterations of Batman that there's some creative liberties that you can take. That's why there's the campy sort of like 60s Batman. You could have a Legos Batman. You could have the Schumacher and the Tim Burton Batman. And not any one of those is necessarily right. But the feeling I get from this movie is that it's the closest one to any sort of source material. Like if they were referencing Frank Miller or the Long Halloween or the animated series, this is probably the close one that gets it correct or close to it. You know, somebody mentioned the gentleman before me.
And this is important to you guys as Batman stans. Is
Right.
what I'm to understand. This is important to you guys. You guys have been begging for a movie to do this. Is that what I'm to understand here?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay.
But this movie is like, from a filmmaker's perspective, there's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more nuance in the approach. Matt Reeves is like really focused on the details, the shot composition, and to me, this like movie is not only just a great Batman film. This is like a great film in general.
Thank you. I'm glad someone said it. Welcome to What We Watch. I fully agree. I tweeted this out. I was like, we don't even have to talk about this from a Batman movie perspective. This movie's fire. Like, this is just a good fucking movie. Like, this is a good time. It's just a good time. It's well done. The use of the color red in this movie and the way he put it against the darkness and the shadows, I was like, he's obsessed with this, and I am loving it. The color red was so powerful in this movie, and I really, really enjoyed that. Car, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I love all those elements too of it. Like it was shot very well. Sound was great. I didn't notice the squeaky boots thing, squeaky costume thing that you mentioned, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I just assumed that it was wet a lot of times when he was walking. That's what I was thinking. But
No, there was some scenes inside where his suit was very dry and he was reaching for stuff and reaching for the envelopes that said to the Batman. It was very, very squeaky.
It's the rubber. It was the rubber. I mean the leather.
Because he's still working out like for all we know, the suit's not going to look like this in the sequel. You know what I mean? Because he's still learning. I really like how this movie feels also kind of like an origin story for the villains, more so than it is for Batman right now, whatever. Because we got Riddler. Granted, every movie you see how the villain starts out, but here it just felt different. Where we're going to start seeing the evolution of these. Like we're seeing Penguin become Penguin now. We're seeing Selina become.
I love
Catwoman.
Penguin right now. Yes.
Oh my! He was Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell ate that.
Man, he was unrecognizable from there. Like low-key, he was just, I low-key, I just feel like he was having the ball making fun of just like American accents and stuff.
Exactly.
Like, hey, what are you doing, sweetheart? Hey, just doing whatever. But he did it so well. I think all those characters meshed well. I think also that's the reason why I'm okay with this movie being so long, because there was so many pieces that needed to be touched up on where it would have felt like, hey, we didn't get enough. We got just the right amount of Penguin. I love the time somebody mentioned how he paid attention to detail. Um, I know DC Easter eggs more than I know Marvel Easter eggs, so I was enjoying like everything that was like the way he did the Hush Thomas Elliott thing was just perfect. I thought that was so cool. I was geeking over like everything in there. I was geeking over everything that I
I
saw.
love that Hush reference, man.
That was one of the best references I've seen because it wasn't
Fire.
like it's like they gave us Hush and without giving us Hush. If we never see Hush in a movie, I'm totally fine with that because technically we got him. You know what I mean? So I just thought that was a great way of him covering certain tracks.
Hell yeah. So and let's pivot because first of all, your time is up. Thank you guys. You successfully spoke about this movie without bringing up The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, and also I don't know why you don't talk about Batman Begins in that conversation either. But go ahead, and the moratorium is also done, and you can be horny and excitable for Zoe Kravitz as well. So that's opened up there, but I am going to ask them to clap as I ask a few questions. I have a question, guys, before we move into talking about Batman villains and obviously the Riddler in this and how we felt about the Riddler in this movie. But first, I need you to tell me one word that comes to mind when you think of the Batman. Okay, the Batman movie, not the Batman as a superhero. Okay, I need you to, and I don't want anything else but one word to come out of your mouth because I'm trying to see what y'all were feeling here before we really get into the villains. Because see, for me, I got bars for Batman all day. If you have some slander for Batman, I'm a retweet it. If I don't do nothing else, I'm gonna retweet some Batman slander. I'm gonna favorite it. I'm gonna send it to my friends in the group chat. We're gonna have a good time. But part of the reason why I love watching Batman movies and animated series is because the villains are fucking hilarious and fit in bars. And they be having Batman shook a lot of the time, which is, I'm a villain apologist. If you don't know me now, if you don't know me then, you know me now. Welcome to Watch. I love villains. I can almost always talk about why a villain is what you need in your life and why the movie went that way. But one word. And I'm putting you on the spot. I want one word, and I want some good words here. I mean, we got an intelligent group. I want some good words here. DCU Mac, you're up. You're up. One word.
One word. Oh man, that's a tough one. Come up with one word.
I just want one word out your mouth. One word.
Complex.
Okay. Car.
Terrifying.
Okay, I like that. And if you guys in the audience, if you agree with any of these words, please feel free to clap or put a little heart side up. Heart with the plus emoji at the bottom right is how you can interact. And if you want to come up and speak, tap the mic. Bam, one word.
Gravitas.
Okay, Imani, one word.
Damn. I'm lost. Grander.
Henry, one word.
Just to describe the movie?
Yeah.
Gritty.
Okay. Dre.
Grandiose.
Okay. Grander, grandiose, gravitas. Y'all are funny. Lex Scope.
I'm gonna go with realistic.
Ashley.
They already said my word. I gotta
Y'all
think
are hilarious.
some more. Come back to me.
Dang, y'all crazy. Chad.
Damn, Kevin Hart emoji.
Damn. You get on my nerves. Dan Goldberg.
It's 3, but not for kids.
This
is so for kids, sir.
I'm gonna have to come back to you because I asked for one word. Yams Casino. Asked your word already?
No, you did not. I guess my word is chilling.
Chilling in the sense of like, ooh, I'm shook.
Yeah, I would say so. Maybe more so the Riddler.
You got to get off your horse.
What horse?
Is this going somewhere?
What happened? What horse?
That was me. So sorry.
Jaylee Jr.
Flawed.
Flawed?
Yes.
Oh my god, that's the first word that
We
comes.
jumping him.
That's the first
Not,
word
it's
that
not.
comes
It's
to
not. It's
mind.
not what you think, though. It's not what you think.
Okay. Is Batman
That's not bad though.
flawed? Did his who else has it? Ashley, I mean, back to you, Ashley.
I got one now.
Okay, you go.
Horror.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. Who else is up here? I'm gonna start rotating people out. Y'all can come right back in. Just give me a second. I'm gonna rotate y'all out and let some people come up and tell me a word. I don't really see many claps and people not really feeling the words y'all are saying. But let's see, or maybe they just don't know how to do the interaction. Who did I just bring up here? Who did I just up? M series. Give me a word. M series. Give me a word.
Shit. Magnificent. My bad. Damn, my mic was still off.
Magnificent.
Yeah.
Okay. Pages. Give me a word. Pages, you're muted. Okay, I like that. So how do y'all feel about these words? Anybody? Dan, you had a word. You had 3 words. I needed 1 word. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I said horror after that.
Oh, you did. Okay, you're good. I want to bring up Dietrich. What's up, Dietrich? How you doing? Give me a word. Dietrich, give me a word.
Grunge.
Okay, you're in.
Yeah.
Grunge. Okay, a lot of G words in here. So, do any of those words that you said describe how about the presentation of the villain in this film? And is there more than one villain in this film? Imani, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I feel what this movie did really well is that it knows how to use multiple villains. You have your main villain, but then you also have your supporting villain that's kind of like a the word is escaped my mind, but it's like a red herring in a way. In a sense, a smaller one, like, because there are 3 villains, although really you could say there are only 2, and then one is kind of teased, and I think, which is really good. Obviously, the Riddler, Penguin, and Carmine Falcone. We're all going to talk about the Riddler. I want to talk about John Turturro's Carmine Falcone because that man stole the show. You know, I always say, obviously, a movie has to be carried by the main star, but a movie is only as good as its character actors, its supporting cast. And he, with his limited time, he steals the entire show. His performance is so pivotal to this entire movie, in my opinion, which is why it's so brilliant. So,
Agreed.
He's a glorious villain with his limited screen time, and I'll let someone else talk about the Penguin and the Riddler.
I mean, you could argue there's one villain in this movie, and it's corruption. Like, if you
Bingo.
go to the genesis of what the Riddler's doing, is because niggas is out here doing what they're not supposed to do.
You know I love an intangible ass quote unquote villain. So thank you, Henry. You know how we do it and what we watch. Ashley, what do you got to say?
Okay, I was gonna say I found my word. Whew, it took me a long time, and you're gonna be mad at me because it's kind of basic. But I thought the movie was really intelligent. Like, I mean, the way that it really played everything out, the way that, the way that the villains were revealed, the way that everything was really put together. As you get to really see, like, oh wait, these are the different players. This is what's happening with the police. This is how long this has been going on. It's really interesting, like, how it all comes together. Imani was saying something, and I raised my hand for that, and I just don't remember what it was now. So I'm gonna shut up.
No worries. We'll come back to you. Bam.
Mo, we talked about this briefly, but like Imani said, there's multiple villains. And I forgot your name, but I see Fupa Doncic. You know what I'm saying? You mentioned that it's corruption. I was telling Mo that this is probably the first Batman movie that we've really gotten where the real antagonist is the elite the elites of Gotham, because you can't have a cesspool of a city or a nation or state or whatever where there's crime and poverty and people being taken advantage of by criminals without the 1% being benefiting from that state. And I like that this movie highlighted that, and also let us know that Thomas Wayne wasn't no paragon. He wasn't completely unblemished. He was the one he had a moment of weakness, and whether that moment of weakness was the only time or it was something that he's done multiple times, that's I really actually hope it's only one time, because I think that's going to be the driving force for Batman, why he can never break his policies, because he knows that if a good man fails, it crosses the line even one time, it can lead to what Gotham is now.
It's funny. I like that you said that. And I want to affirm everybody in here. First of all, we're not making this up. Corruption quite literally was reinforced and reiterated in the dialogue between Batman and Catwoman numerous times. And when he told Officer Gordon, he was like, no, he's not after you because you're not corrupt. And so definitely that is like the overarching theme. And I think I love the way that the Riddler was like, what are you talking about? I'm not the villain. You fucking helped me do this. You are the reason why I was able to shoot Carmine Falcone. So what are you talking about? We're partners in this. And so that delicate, like, blurred line, which is what I'm obsessed with in any aspect of any genre of any film, but like they did that so well for this to be a DC comic kind of movie. And I'm like, oh, y'all blurred the line between like, well, Batman isn't the problem. Batman solved all these riddles and helped him complete his journey. So I really appreciated that. I had a good time with that. Yams Casino?
So the reason why I picked Chilling because of the Riddler, he's based off of an amalgamation of Kevin Spacey's character. I want to say a little bit of like the Zodiac too, and he's got like that creepy ass Buffalo Bill voice and the military breathing mask, which is like a nice touch that they added that. I think that's part of what makes it grounded in realism, that they didn't give him a bodysuit with like question marks on it. They made him into like a full on, like, this is a serial killer, and there's nothing really chilling like a serial killer, because like you put the whole town in fear. You never know when he's gonna strike, where he's gonna be. And this movie had like one of the greatest like openings. Like you look through the Riddler's mask and you're inside of I forget who was it, one of the police officers or something, or the mayor. The mayor, right? So he's inside of his house, and it's dark. You don't really see him, but like when you see the light from the television, like you can see the outline of his glasses. I thought that was pretty dope, and that's why I chose Chilling.
Yeah, that there's like 3 opening scenes from 3 different Batman movies that I enjoy, and this easily creeped into my top 3 off the strength of him, the mayor stepping to the side and seeing the Riddler, because the Riddler didn't particularly terrify me as a character. The movie and the way they created space around the Riddler and the sounds and his quote unquote supporters is what made the Riddler horrifying to me. Cause I would have called that motherfucker a clown to his face. I'm not finna play these games with you. Like, I don't care what you got going on, the Riddler. But the way they created everything around him and made him very dramatic, and he's an orphan too, just like Bruce Wayne. I was like, I like this. Drive this home. Like, really sell this to me. So, yeah. Pages, you're muted.
Can y'all hear me? Can y'all
Yes.
hear me? Fantastic. Yeah, part of the reason why I chose the word gothic for this movie, which is not just in terms of style and the way the movie looked, and I think also even the Wayne Manor or whatever was the Wayne building. It was a very gothic building. The elements of darkness and the elements of supernatural almost how supernatural and or supernatural terror that the Batman felt like, the ways that the Batman would emerge out of darkness, right? The ways that the use of red, of the color red, and was often a place within the movie. It gave a very, very gothic, that very gothic and very eerie feeling. I also really love gothic, especially for Selena Kyle's character. When we're talking about especially the female gothic, and how a lot of that the narratives of the female gothic are usually of the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like the persecuted woman who is in flight from the villainous father and is in search of the absent mother. And Selena Kyle's character was absolutely full embodiment of the female gothic in that way, which was, but they gave it a sort of good turn in the ways that her relationship with the actual Batman sort of unfolded, even though I wasn't kind of a fan of it. I remember earlier somebody asked if there was something that you would cut from the movie. I would personally cut the forced romance between Selena Kyle's character and Batman. It just felt forced. It did not feel to me, it did not feel like it organically got to that place. Especially when, girl, you don't even know what this man looked like. Okay. And he's one of those elites that you're supposedly
And
fighting about, these white
but that's
privileged
literally
dudes.
how she is in the comics, though. Like that awkward, forced tension. That's literally how they first meet.
Right.
Here's a
The forced tension to me is not that's not what I'm getting at here. It's not necessarily just how she flirts and this kind of sort of thing
what you're talking
situationally, but I
about.
think about
What you're talking about specifically is her basically getting curved. Is what you're talking about. Is that what's bothering you? You're
no,
basically okay.
it's
We
not
can we
how
can bring it to that. How
it's
she
not her
was.
getting curved. I think for me it's how it just did not inform it did not fully inform
Mm,
the plot for me. It did not fully inform their romance and the ways that they went about did not change anything about how the story would have went, right?
Question.
If they had never
But that's
had any
intentional because
Right.
she's fleshed out outside of the story. She's just added to the story, but not actually essential because they've literally just met. That's literally how their story is in a year one story.
which
That's
is ho- which
intentional.
which is why I would feel then there's no need for them to have this romance, especially at this current stage. At this current stage in the movie, you can hint at it. You can, oh, okay, we can say there's a tension there or something is going to happen. But
yeah,
to me, the choice didn't feel earned for this movie and how it pushed the story forward. It did not feel earned. That if none of that had happened between them in the movie still would have gone the
okay,
exact way that it had went.
gotcha. I got what you're saying. Now I will say that Selena Kyle's flirting helped Batman succeed. So I did say that earlier. I don't know if he was here, but that is a fact. Good thing she's a good flirter because that helped him tremendously. Uh,
Agreed.
Car, go ahead.
Yeah, no, going back to what everyone was saying about the Riddler. Yeah, I do love like the serial killer twist on him. Again, Matt Reeves, had intention with his reinvention of this guy. Playing in the fact that, his name is like a play on like Enigma, and like he has all these other different aliases. Because like in the books, you just can't keep up with names sometimes or whatever. But I like the fact how they threw that in here by making him like adopted, and like he had these other like random other names that he could have had over the years growing up, him being adopted and stuff. That's like where those names could have came from. I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like him having followers, because you gotta wonder like how these supervillains just find all these people, all these henchmen or whatever, right? You
Right.
gotta wonder how they just find like random niggas lying around that's just trained to go. I know people's out here broke and hungry. I know it's Gotham, but like people don't run in the same crew. Like I don't know, you know what I mean. So I like how it shows him having followers. Like why these people have like henchmen. Oh yeah, because there's somebody that believes in your thing. They're not just like some 2-bit thugs that you got doing it. Like boom, now we have like you said, we're not gonna have the Riddler wearing a green suit with question marks and stuff. But now he has a uniform that his henchmen could go ahead and mimic. So I thought that was just really clever over there. Like everything was done so well.
And to deep dive even more into the villain part, because see, what was cool about this movie for me too was that the Riddler was also offing other villains, so it was really like open to like, because even Selena Kyle, I think she said that Catwoman, she was like, well, she's like, I low-key support him, like he's getting rid of the bad people, fuck those guys, CEO hedge fund types, right? Like she said it. And so for me, a villain in a movie, what I liked about other Batman movies is that the villain was pretty damn clear. And yes, there were some spins in some cases. Obviously, we know what we're talking about. But I really like the villains really got to shine in a lot of other films. And that was what was keeping me watching Batman movies. And the villains shined in this movie, but in a completely different way. It's like if we take a part of like being a villain or being the problem and driving the plot forward, that was dispersed across numerous characters. And so for me, and bear with me, no villain was really highlighted in this film. It was all of them like shared the burden of being a problem for Batman or for the officers. In some cases, like the officers were the problem, right? The DA was the problem. Carmine Falcon was the fucking problem. The mayor was the goddamn problem. And so I like that they just, again, like that blurred line. I live for that type of, shit. Like the mayor, sure, like he's not perfect. Batman's dad, he's not perfect, and that was a really good time to me, because this usually what gets me excited about a Batman movie is like Bane. I'm like, yeah, turn Bane up, turn Joker up. And here I don't know that I went in like turn Riddler up. I didn't feel that. I felt like, holy shit, this is a lot more. I think somebody said it earlier. This is a lot more complex than just turn Riddler up and let's see Riddler and Batman go at it. Because in this movie, did Riddler and Batman ever even touch each other? In every other movie, Batman's seeing his villains. You know what I mean? Henry, you unmuted. Were you about to say something?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say no. They never really like
they never
physically
even
interacted. No,
physically touched. And I don't know if y'all noticed that, but like that's not common in other Batman movies.
But they rarely did in the comics too, because with Riddler it's more like a battle of brains. Obviously
exactly.
Batman has his villains that challenge him on the physical side, some that challenges mental. So yeah, with the Riddler it's all mind
Joker does both.
Yeah, Joker does. Oh my god.
So yeah, Yams Casino, go ahead.
I'm just gonna touch on this, and I gotta say I gotta run, but I like the fact of the sort of ambiguity towards the end when Batman is talking to the Riddler when he's at Arkham Asylum, and Riddler says Bruce Wayne, and then and Batman, he's kind of like he's sweating bullets because he's trying to figure out if the Riddler figured out his identity. But I like the ambiguity of it, because when Riddler later on he says we could have got him too or something like that. So it's kind of like, does he really know or does he not know? And in the comics, the Riddler is the only person that knows Batman's true identity. So I think he's kind of
toyed with that
keeping
nicely.
Right. I think he's kind of keeping that to himself. But like us as the audience, we have to like figure out, does he know or does he not know? So I thought that was really great.
Anybody in the room, and those of you on stage too, do y'all ever root for villains in movies?
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
When
Yeah,
they have
I'm
a
amongst
good
people.
driving
Thanos was right.
plot, I think.
No villain was right.
Welcome, wonderful. So, did any of you get excited and want to support any of the villains in this movie? I think to me it's a feat for a movie that I'm like never rooting for any of the villains, not the intangible or tangible or any iteration of them, and still for this to be exciting to me, that's important. I low-key fucked with the Penguin, but not really, because it wasn't there wasn't enough storyline about him besides the fact that he was just doing his thing. But how did y'all feel? Like, did y'all root for anybody here to get excited about?
I didn't. I don't
Batman.
think I rooted for any. I didn't root for any of
Yeah.
the villains, but it was a situation where you, in so many ways, could see like you know, you could stop and say like, yeah, not that I would go to this extreme, but you know, I see what's going on. Like if you were to find out about all of this corruption and knowing that there was no way that, like, based upon how the entire city was built, there was no
Mm-hmm.
way it was going to change. And in so many ways, like, it's the core of what this city is. But that's something where it's like, it's not that I was rooting for the
Mm-hmm.
villain as much as saying, you know, it makes sense as to why I guess it would get to this point if you were to find out something like this.
And that's
But
a common thing with Batman movies, but I think this one just like really, really kind of sat with it in a different way and gave us the social media, the aspect of it, a lot more too. Henry, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, when you talk about rooting for villains, I think there's a little nuance when you're talking about a story with like a vigilante, like your Daredevil stories, your Batman stories. Like when they go up against others that, you know, are willing to cross that line with the bad guys and kill and put them down. That's when, you know, the conversation gets real interesting. I mean, I can't say that I rooted for the Riddler, but I mean, again, the main villain of this movie was corruption because folks was out here doing what they're not supposed
And
to
if
be
the
doing.
main villain of the movie was corruption, the Riddler is therefore not the villain then. So
for me
he
with
was
the
tackling
Riddler,
corruption. Go ahead, Bam.
for me with the Riddler, like I could, again, like Henry said, I can see where he's coming from, but I
Not
think
some Riddler apology.
but very early on in the movie, he like, and it was just me sitting in there watching it. He made me feel like you were a January 6th insurrectionist, like you were,
yes,
and that was why I was like, I can't root for you because this is a little too close to home, like a little too close to real life.
That was literally something that I was thinking about when I was watching it, and it was, and we saw these guys. I was sitting there like, you know, this is a little. I don't want anybody to get any ideas about what they, you know, what they think we should be doing or whatever.
Way too late for that.
People were like, "Oh, why were they making a big deal about him having 500 followers?" And I'm sitting here like, "Yo, that's like the dark web. That's like a parlor. You know what I'm saying? This is the Boogaloo and Proud Boys. You got 500 followers, my nigga. You are Jesus. You got disciples. You got
Especially
people
in,
ready.
like,
You got hitters.
If you're encouraging gun violence, for sure, that's all you need. You need 30 followers for that. You're good to go.
Yeah, and which he did. He had about 15 dudes who was like, "Yeah, we gonna dress up like you." You know what I'm saying? We gonna ride,
Bring
bro.
on the Saran wrap, my nigga.
Right, we gonna ride.
It was so funny to me. I think it's one of those questions because, first of all, this Batman movie is elite off the strength of like it calling out cops and politicians' corruption. Like in any other aspect of any other movie, that is a theme that we celebrate. Yeah, fuck the cops and get this propaganda out of here and blah 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 blah. And so they did it really really well in this movie where it was like there were moments where it's like, well, not all cops are bad. Remember, like Gordon had his, well, not all of us work for Falcone, and it just, there was like this good balance where we even sat with, I think it was just so purposely done, like when we sat with Gordon and Batman goes, "You are a good cop." It was just like that
even
scream,
even then when he took him outside, he was like, not all of us work for you. He was like, well, where were you niggas when they were taking drugs and doing drop heads?
They did it so well because when Batman said, "You are a good cop," I was like, "Oh, Batman, we on the same page here? Do I have something in common with Batman?" So you do recognize that most of these motherfuckers are bad, but okay, you gonna throw Gordon a bone. And so I really like that. So if the villain is corruption, then the Riddler just had a weird approach, right? It just had a weird approach.
The Riddler is just the antagonist. That's all. You know that, Monique. He's just an antagonist.
And so,
but I think the other thing about it though is that I think.
Go ahead, Imani, and then Ashley.
I was gonna say the problem with the Riddler is that he's an extremist. So it's like you're along for the ride in the beginning, but then you reach the third act and he's killing everyone in the garden. That's where, truthfully, he loses you. Because really and personally, when he was hacking off, everyone who was dirty, I was like, it's not right.
Yeah.
But hey, that ain't my
you was on your Selena Kyle with it. She was like, he can keep doing what he's doing. I just need to find Annika.
But then when he sent his followers to just go hack innocent people in the garden, I was like, he's the villain now.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And what I love about what you were saying earlier is that Carmine Falcone just, just placed in the movie so many different times. Like, I don't know if when y'all were watching it, but I knew immediately. I was like, my guy John Turturro is about to be a problem in this movie. I know this man is a fucking problem. I didn't get the Falcon Riddle thing. I didn't get that far. El Ratalada, I didn't get that. But I definitely was like, Carmine Falcone is on some weird shit. And you know what I decided? Let me tell you when I decided that Carmine Falcone was a problem. When he touched Selena Kyle's face in the bar. I was like, no good
Yep.
no good person would do this. No good person would do this. This man is a problem here, and I want to know where this movie better tell me, because why did he touch her face like that? You get your hands off of her. So that's how I felt about it. Dietrich, go ahead.
Yeah, I think when we did talk about the opening scene, and it is fantastic, but one of the things I loved about it was the fact that you didn't know who you were, like what eyes you were looking out of at first.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a villain because you got that breathing, but we're kind of used to having our Batmans have weird breathing, right? So I was half convinced it was Batman. And then to have it, appear to be a serial killer, and then to have no like immediate identifier, at least from my eyes, that it was Riddler, until like you come to the crime scene and get that like calling card, and you're like, oh shit, we're in a Riddler movie. That was a great feeling.
Yes.
But all the way through the movie, there's this continuous thread that Riddler and the Batman are doing the same damn job. Riddler's just obsessed with the Batman and taking a different approach. It's the copycat serial killer. It's the the hero worship, like taken to the extreme kind of situation. And it pointed out Batman's flaws the entire movie. So shout out to Dan, who was saying like this movie, first word comes to mind is flawed. Like, yeah, as far as Batman's concerned, definitely.
Yes.
Like the vengeance theme, the fire we saw, the whole like motif, the rain needing to wash everything away like continuously throughout the movie because of the corruption. Like the imagery was so powerful. But the fact of the matter was, if we're really thinking about it, Riddler was not a villain.
Exactly.
He was an antagonist. He was just not an antagonist. He was a vigilante.
He was. I mean, again, part of the
He
theme
was
and part
a
of why
scary
Act
fucking
3
vigilante, but he was a vigilante.
Yeah, the part of why Act 3 escalated so quickly was because Paul Dano was like, yo, what you mean I'm the problem here? We work together. We literally work together on this. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean I'm the problem here? You helped me do this. What are we talking about here? And so I just love that we sat with him kind of just kind of like, oh, this did not go how I planned, because I wasn't convinced at first, and then upon second watch I was like, no. If I put out a bunch of clues and I make you go do a scavenger hunt and you complete my scavenger hunt, baby, we work together. We are on the same exact team. And so I love the way they played with that in this movie. Wonder.
Yeah. Just going back to what Imani was saying. It's crazy because this is one of the only films that I can recall where like the main villain and the main protagonist actually don't go physically head to head. But even with the end about him becoming a villain, all in all, it was still society against society, because it was those that were affected by those who let that society go on. And that was the whole point of the guy at the end, who was like, I am vengeance. And it kind of threw Batman in a loop, because he I think at that moment he felt a little bit, or I think he felt a lot out of touch with the society. And that even goes back to what Catwoman was saying to him, how she was like, oh, of course you would say that, right?
You rich, you must be rich. You're not, you don't have to think that. The narration and the times where we got the monologues from Batman, he literally said what you just said. So yes, you're 100% correct. It's interesting to me, and I think I'll let Dre Horizon and then Chad, then Pages, then Dan. But it's interesting to me that we talk about the Batman because as a Batman slanderer and celebrator of Batman slander, I really appreciate this film because Batman was so fucking aware and everyone around him was not afraid to like, you know, pretend like he wasn't shit. I really appreciated those small moments. They were very tiny moments, but there was like at least 8 of them where it was like, who the fuck is this motherfucker? Get the fuck out of my face. And I was like, there I am. I'm in this movie. See, this is, and its presentation is important. And so, and I say this seriously because I won't get too much into it, but just from a film perspective overall, there's a Nicolas Cage movie coming out where he's self-aware about all of his movies. And I'm like, this is what I want to see. And so for Batman to go through off with this journal entry, and I'm not sympathetic in the moments, but toward the end when he's letting the woman up the helicopter, it felt a little forced. Also was like, thank you for letting us into Batman's mind a little bit more and make him feel more self-aware. This is me speaking as a Batman slanderer and slander celebrator. Like, this is good. Now he's exploring the imperfect side of himself in this horrific, brooding, kind of noir like approach. And I really like, because I know he does that in other movies as well, but this one really drove it home. We sat for 3 hours where he was like, damn, have I done anything for Gotham? You know what I mean? And other ones, Batman's like, yeah, I just beat Bane's ass. Yeah, I just, I'm here fucking with the Joker. Yeah, he got me a little fucked up. But this one, it was like, no one was doing anything. And he was like, damn, am I here? Am I worth it? What, 2 years and shit hasn't really kind of, and I really, really appreciated that. Dre Horizon, go ahead.
I think for this movie, is there a villain or whatever it was? I think that what it does really well is show the line of where Batman will cross, right, or won't cross, and what irks you really as a conflict all the time with a Batman as a fan is that there's that's the side of, oh, I really want to solve all these problems in Gotham. Well, I would just do what the villain did, kill all the elite and start over. Whereas Batman is like, well, I want to stop. I don't really want to break the root of it because that will cause an upheaval of my entire society. I want to slow down the influence. I'll be a henchman up. I'll beat up everybody. I'll do all these things, ruin lives, but I'll let the root of all this evil that I'm trying to stop, so to speak. I'll let them go to jail for a few months or a year. Not even really because of time, but month or year. I'll around again when you could end it, but you never crosses that line. And I think that realization of, oh, I'm just like this person. I gotta go back into society and just keep myself having a purpose there.
Chad?
First of all, I just want to backtrack real quick because everybody's talking about representation. I want y'all to not act like we didn't have Morgan Freeman in 3 movies actually being the hero and saving Batman's ass. And then we had Harvey Dent in the original Batman trilogy who didn't get the big Two-Face. So we had representation, just not like they wasn't there, okay? And coming back to everything.
My representation was not taking Batman seriously though. That was important for me in this movie. Thank you.
I mean, you can't take Batman seriously. He's a rich man walking around working out his therapy problems because those things that you normally have a problem with Batman that we slander him for were addressed in this movie, and like him having that realization that he ain't doing the shit he's supposed to do.
Thank you for making my point. Yep, agreed.
One thing that I felt like that they could have done that didn't get done was the whole renewal fund that obviously him being the Wayne would have had control of, and the mayor wanted to talk to him about that. They probably should have some kind of reconciliation with that at the end. I didn't get that part. And before I go, I gotta open the mic to start. When he hit that goddamn bridge in that bus, that shit was hilarious.
When he jumped off the police station, yeah, that shit was funny.
That was comedy.
I just want to add my favorite Batman slander is that man is definitely is doing tax evasion, or he's gonna start soon when he starts becoming a Wayne and he has to cover up his Batman funding. So that's always my favorite slander. Like, he's one tax audit away from jail.
Love that. You know I love some Batman Center. If you want to start and say any and share any Batman Center in this space, is totally welcome. Pages, go ahead. Love it here. Henry,
Well, first
you'll be fine.
First Batman slander. Yeah, absolutely. Why
Yes,
does
let's get
no
it.
criminal ever shoot Batman in the face? Like, come on,
Boy.
shoot this
Literally, what took that guy
man
so
in the face.
long? The guy that was
What?
standing there just like, the third, I'll put the bullet in, and then he gets knocked down by fucking cat. I'm like, bitch, what the fuck?
What?
You over here like, pop, pop, like,
Please just shoot this man in the face. Just shoot him in the face. That's it. That's all you gotta
it'll
do.
be done. It'll be
And
over.
let's be
And the
and
movie
let's
will be over in
honest.
10 minutes.
He got a big ass face. Like, let's be honest. He got a
Big
big head.
facts.
His head
That
is big.
square ass
Big
Thanos
head
jaw.
bad boy.
Big old head boy, like that's why
Blockhead
you wear a
bad
mask.
boy.
It's not
Doesn't
because
Oh,
Morgan
man.
Freeman
Jit
what
not
did
trying to get
Selena say?
roasted.
What did Selena? Your
doesn't
head
Mor-
is
doesn't
scarred. Said your head is scarred. I said no. He got a ugly ass. Shit. That's why he asked Selena. I was screaming that at the screen. I said, Selena, his head is shaped weird. That's why he wear a mask. Somebody need to shoot him in the face. Who was it?
Facts.
Who was it in the club that was like shooting him like close range shotgun? I said, oh, get this guy out of here. This guy has terrible aim. Get him out of here.
He was
Terrible
getting
aim.
put down by some of them gunshots, though.
Hey,
That
look.
shotgun
They
at
did
the
a
end put
really
his ass on his-
they did a really good job at the end. Finally, I was like, finally, he going through some stuff because that bridge scene where he got, knocked the fuck out after being a gliding squirrel. Did anybody think gliding squirrel at that point, or was it just me?
Yo,
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Oh.
Gliding squirrel. Absolutely.
I was like,
Absolutely.
okay.
Fuck ass nigga.
Now I said, now
And,
you're gonna have
and,
me call
and not to
Batman a gliding
compare.
squirrel for the next few years, and you're gonna be mad at me. But he definitely
A
was a
real
gliding
rat
squirrel.
with wings. Fuck with it.
Not to
Exactly, that's what I'm
compare.
saying.
Not to compare, but to compare. Like, you remember how cool it was in the Dark Knight trilogy when Batman first, like electrified his cape so it got sturdy and he could glide, and it was just fire. It was like, oh, this is cool. And then this man stood at the edge of the building and zipped up his cape and went full flying ferret on us. And it was just like, oh, come on, dog.
You know some real year two shit about that scene. He was low key like scared to jump off. Like he got
Oh,
up
yeah,
there and
yeah,
was like,
yeah. You
oh
seen him.
shit.
You see,
I was
he
like,
was
yeah,
shook.
this
He
is
was like,
definitely a year two Batman for
he
sure.
was like,
'Cause
wow,
here's my
I really never thought I'd have to do this, but I guess I have to do it.
And you know what's funny? Because he jumped off a building twice, and Selena Kyle jumped off a building twice as well in this movie, if not more times than that. But when Selena was doing it, when Catwoman was doing it, she was like ready. She was like, okay, I'm attaching myself to this and I'm going. Batman was shook both times. Like even when he did the grappling and then was walking down the side, which I thought was a fire ass scene. I mean, we got to get into these scenes. We got to get into our favorite scenes. That scene was fire. But he looked even a little
Yeah.
shook then. Gliding squirrel, he was shook. He was shook in a lot of these moments. Heights, I think me and him both have, fear of heights. I think we do.
Scary ass boy.
It didn't seem like his little parachute flying squirrel thing had been. It did not seem like the best of technology. But
It
again,
seemed like
year
it was
two.
the first time he was using it too.
Yeah, definitely the
Okay.
first time he was using. He's like, well, I guess
That
I'm gonna
was
test
that
this
was the
out.
first. I would not be surprised
so
if
once
the
no.
second movie calls back to that and is like, all right, we're gonna make sure that this gliding works a little bit better this time, because it really
So I
just
don't
was like,
crack my skull on a subway.
right, that was like literally like 6 minutes of comedy, because the scene where he's talking to Officer Gordon before he punches him, that was a hilarious scene, and then we
Hell
see him
yeah.
glide squirrel into the concrete. I'm like, this is hilarious. I was laughing the whole time. I was like, they a fool for this entire fucking sequence.
That was the grounding everybody was talking about. That was grounding right there. Cause he was fucked up.
His
Yeah,
ass was
he was
grounded.
grounded all right.
Please.
Right, he was grounded.
But okay, go
Boy
ahead,
went from a
Car.
bat to a rat.
Period. Go ahead, Car, and
But
then Dan.
wait, real quick before, because the thing that I actually
Okay.
wanted to talk about, I just wanted to start with the slander first.
Oh,
But
sorry. Yeah, we
what
definitely
I
you got us going. Go ahead.
But what I wanted to talk about was, and one of the things that I was kind of about the movie was the movie had a great arc for Batman, but it didn't have a great arc for Bruce Wayne. And I think somebody earlier said that about the renewal thing situation where we got that set up and we never really got that payoff at the end, because we never really got to see what has Bruce Wayne learned, right? And how it's Bruce Wayne's, because the sins of the father, but he honestly got off scot-free, to be honest. You never really got anything out of it. And which is why I wished Riddler had said he knows his secret. I wish they had actually kind of like went with it and created that complication where it would have been now in a place of, all right, Batman, you got two choices. Either you gonna save your identity as this vigilante and what you're trying to do with it, or you're gonna actually be honest and save the city. To further also drive this theme of corruption, I think that would have been such a
to test
better way to really
Batman's
exactly
corruption. Okay.
But you know
to
what?
test them.
We could
Because
have
I
an
was also
actual
wondering.
conversation.
Because I
Paige,
was also
that's not
wondering.
a.
Hold
That's
on,
not a.
Brandon.
Go ahead.
Brandon, let
I'm
Paige
sorry.
just finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I was also wondering, I mean, you're saying you vengeance. Who are you vengeance for? Other rich white angry boys who lost their daddies outside of Apollo? Like, I just don't believe you. Who are you exactly vengeance for?
Here's
You
the
know what I'm saying?
thing.
And so like
Here's the thing, Paige, is Batman didn't realize that he was Cap himself. He said that was his whole little monologue.
he
Was like,
was.
"Am
He
I really
was.
vengeance? Am I doing anything?" Like y'all,
You know?
here's the thing. I have never wanted to level with Batman. I leveled with Batman a couple times in this movie. I said, "Damn, I'm also afraid of heights, but I'm fighting it, and I will jump." Secondly, have
Mhm.
you ever thought that you was doing what you supposed to be doing, what you thought you was gonna do, and then you were like, maybe I'm not. Maybe I need to work
Maybe
on
I'm
this.
not.
Maybe I need to work
Am
on
I
this. Maybe I
even
need to
really a tiger?
Am I really? Yeah, right. Like you look in the mirror and you're like, damn. No, I could work on some stuff, guys. Like break the fourth. Like if he broke the fourth, I would be totally fine with it. Yeah, no, I got.
Would have been totally
I get it.
fine with it.
Yep.
And it was also why I wish that Alfred, when he revealed that, nah, your dad wasn't really fucked up, I was like, I wish they would have just kept it. Your dad made a decision, and it could have still been based off of I was trying to save your mama, and I said, fuck these motherfuckers, go kill that dude. I don't give a shit. Cause now he fucking with my wife and my wife's people. I would have given way
That's
more
sexy.
grace to that than
Yeah.
way sexier. I would have given way more grace to that than just, nah, he's not really bad. He is just this momentary lapse of no. Keep it on he had a darkness about him, just like every fucking body has a darkness about them. And lean into that shit to really then drive this thing of like, you yourself, Alfred's then position as this mentor would have been more so of everybody is going to have their moment of darkness, Bruce, and when yours come, that's what's going to define like the type of person you are, how you're going to take that. And that would have been a great setup to then a payoff at the end when all of the things happen. And that was a gripe for me for the movie.
I always make sure that for these types of films I make space for my gripe guys. I call them gripe guys, gripe session gripe guys. And so I don't want hold some of those thoughts pages because I definitely want to come in. Henry asked, and the second clause of that question is, what would you cut out? And I want to frame it another way. What was your least favorite scene, or what would you cut out? And then what was your favorite scene? Because you just touched on my least favorite scene, and it was the Alfred Batman scene for me. But Dan, go, your hand up. I'm gonna get. If I kicked you off of the stage, that doesn't mean I don't want you to talk anymore. I'm just letting other people come up. So if you want to come back up, just keep requesting the mic, and I'll rotate everybody in. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, that's interesting. The least favorite scene. One thing quickly on the slander, and you talk about tax evasion. In one of the Nolan films, Morgan Freeman admits to like massive embezzlement of how they're funding the thing. They just but
he sure does.
I think in this movie, the thing that I didn't love is after the scene you talked about when he and Paul Dano are talking and yelling at each other in Arkham. The whole plan with the flooding and going to the arena and his minions with their AR-15s or whatever it stands for, armor light, whatever the fuck that people say. I just didn't. That seemed a little bit outside the bounds of what the movie had done up to that point, which was kind of do a grounded detective, as realistic as a Batman movie can be, kind of story. So I just didn't. I liked some of the stuff in there because it was visceral and cool and intense.
Yes,
visceral. But I don't know if I loved it from a. Yeah, I don't know if I loved it.
I have a
as
conspiracy theory about that.
The what theory?
I have a conspiracy theory about that.
Oh,
about what?
Hat. That entire third act. I don't think Matt Reeves wanted that. I think that was the studio, because at the end of the day, you and I may like a detective movie, but this movie has to sell to the masses. It has to recoup money, and people are in the world of superheroes and Marvel, and people like big guns and action. And apparently this movie was tested, and it was more of a horror movie, and it was 3.5 hours, and this was 3 months ago. So I
Well,
think
I wouldn't have wanted it longer, but it felt like a horror. Yeah, that felt kind of marbling,
yeah,
kind of apocalyptic, and this was not that kind of movie. And
I think the studio. I
I
think
want
this.
to I want to believe
Yeah,
you because I want to believe that it wasn't Matt Reeves because I'm a huge fan of his.
yeah. I think the studio
Dan,
stepped in and yeah.
you're a fan of Matt Reeves. What other movies do you love?
Well, I'm a big I'm a big fan of his War of the Planet of the Apes movies. Well, I like the first one a lot too, which he didn't do. But I love the last two. Cloverfield, I guess, is pretty cool and interesting. But I don't think I've seen his other ones, like his first movie that's small, and I think people liked it. But I really like the two Planet of the Apes movies he did. I think they're super like thoughtful and politically thoughtful for big budget movies. Although the third one kind of ends in that avalanche, kind of a Deus Ex Machina thing that maybe isn't earned. But he's just a cool, thoughtful guy, I think, and he does cool shit. And I think he did a lot of cool shit in this movie too.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with Matt Reeves directing this movie. We sat with a lot of cool scenes, and I want to get into themes that were highlight you guys that sat with you guys or that were highlighted for you in your experience watching the movie. Because, and I can jog y'all's memory here in a little bit, but if you watch Cloverfield, there are a lot of scenes in Cloverfield. The color for Cloverfield is like green. There are a lot of scenes in Cloverfield that look the scenes in the Batman. Obviously, there's different approaches and storytelling behind it, but there's a lot of like similarities, and so that's how like the currency of a director. So just if you liked Cloverfield or if you like it enough to go back and watch it, you'll find shots very similar. And you're like, oh yeah, that is a Matt movie. I get it. Mess, welcome to the stage. Mess.
Thank you, Mo.
Yes.
I'm here. Thank you. So just two quick things. First, I love the movie. It was amazing to me. I'm a comic book fan. I read the comics currently. And I've seen all the movies, and like this one stood out. Two things I wanted to say though. Commenting on the arc with Bruce. I think there was a complete arc. So this was a Batman movie, right? So we saw Bruce Wayne as Batman 90% of the movie, right? I mean, it's titled The Batman, right? And so he threw away. Basically, he wasn't even being Bruce. And when he was Bruce Wayne, he had the motorcycle helmet on, and that's how he passed through society, being anonymous. The one time he came outside was to go to the funeral, but he was going to the funeral because he's like, "Yo, I'm looking for the killer." And so as he goes on, like he's learning that he has to be Bruce. He's learning more about himself. So first he finds out about his parents, right? He finds out about renewal. He understands what his relationship with Alfred. He starts to realize like, yo, like Alfred has been my pops all this time. Like I was on some bullshit. And so at the end, he gets to that point where he's like, yo, how do I become Hope? Right? When the mayor's like, yo, let's talk about renewal. He's like, nah, I don't want to talk about it. But guess what? Like the Riddler was a forensic accountant. And the forensic Riddler basically said, look, had someone been paying attention to renewal, these dudes would not have been taking all the money. And they would not have been washing and laundering, and it wouldn't have been crazy. And had you, Bruce, taken care of your business as you should have, things are different. So I think what this sets up for him is in that second movie that we see Bruce Wayne become more like he comes into being the Bruce Wayne. Because again, this is year 2, right? He's an early 20s kid. He's full of energy, but he don't care about shit. And now we're going to start to see where he is going to start to realize the nuance of I can take the influence that I have, use the influence I have as Bruce Wayne to affect some change. So when we start to see like his Wayne Manor, like Arkham Asylum, like he goes into Arkham and he sees like the drop heads and he sees how dilapidated it's like, fam, like this was my family's legacy. And I think that's where you also realize, like, I have been neglecting my family's legacy because I've been so focused on avenging my parents. And then shit, like my dad was on some bullshit. And so now I don't know what it is. So that's
that beautiful,
like he's gonna step up.
It's that beautiful story, which we've seen in many other films and plays and things like that about like what seeking revenge will do, which is why the quote unquote I am vengeance, that kind of theme throughout. Kind of it didn't depict but like it be, that's why the guy, what was the dude, I forget, he was the dude that got his ass beat, Batman, and he was under the saran wrap and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm
Right.
vengeance. And it's like, you're not vengeance, because it's not that you're not vengeance, but if you want to call yourself vengeance, then we're all of vengeance in some capacity in relationship to Gotham. And so I really like that theme. But as you're talking about Bruce Wayne, I think I really enjoyed the Riddler in this aspect with the sins of the father. And the sins of the father are visited upon the children, or are visited upon the sons. And that is one of the most beautiful themes that I've seen, because I've seen in a lot of TV shows that I'm watching right now. And so when it was in this movie, I was like, ooh, I'm very excited to see how the Riddler incorporates that. And then someone said earlier, like, oh, well, he kind of like got a scot-free with it, or was scot-free with it. But I don't think that he did, because a lot of times the pain or the sins of the father that are visited upon you is what he's been going through this entire time, which is like not even feeling like he's worthy of Gotham over the past few years, or what is his role in Gotham really? Like, Batman, you are fighting the people that are fighting corruption. You keep doing that. So what are you really? Car, go ahead.
Yeah, I enjoy, like, I know someone mentioned two things. I know someone mentioned the like the third act with there's mixed feelings on it, the Riddler kind of going super villain, but I mean, I don't know, I kind of welcome that, because for me that's what made the film for me the stakes weren't that high when you really think about it. Like, okay, the Riddler is killing these like horrible rich people. If that's kind of just what it ended up being at the end of the day, we would have, the movie still would have been good, but to me, he wouldn't have really solidified himself as a supervillain or as a villain in general. Because right now we're split on it, but the minute we got to that point of the flooding and stuff, we're like, all right, okay, yeah, he's a villain. You know what I mean? So I think that's why we really needed that to really differentiate the between Batman and the Riddler, with especially with the Riddler thinking that, oh, hey, we're buddies, we're in this together. We needed something for him to be like, never mind, nigga, we're not on the same team at all.
Yeah.
So that's why I had fun with that. I thought it was cool. It was necessary for me, just to really put Batman into, like I said, it was dope that it started out with him being, just this dark, shadowy figure that's beating the crap out of people. But towards
I
the end of the
love
movie,
that.
we needed something like that to happen, to show that, okay, he could actually be something else. Just like how you said, he realized, okay, maybe I don't need to be vengeance. Like, I don't know who in here,
It's a lot of
watches
other shit
Arrow
going
or whatever, but I feel
on.
like they kind of did it the same way in there. Like, if anybody's seen that, it's kind of like Oliver started out just murdering people with arrows and stuff to avenge like his father, but then afterwards, in a couple episodes, Diggle and everybody's like telling him, maybe you can actually be something good, instead of just a murderer or a crazy person. So I thought that was cool.
I think
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What were you saying? I was asking about what?
No, you said something about like least favorite scene. For me, like, I'm split on it. Literally the only scene that I could have did without was that last scene with Barry Keoghan. His cameo as the Joker. I could have did without that, just because I'm like, all right, I'm not that excited to see Joker again. But watching an interview from Matt Reeves, he was talking about why that scene was actually there, and the history behind it makes me appreciate it more, because it shows that, like, so what he was saying is, it was a deleted scene while Batman is over here trying to like solve these clues from the Riddler and stuff like that. He realizes that it reminds him of a previous crime that he had to deal with in like his in like year one, basically. So he actually goes to a detention center. I don't know if it's Arkham yet. I think it's Arkham. He goes there to go ahead and talk to this guy who essentially is the Joker, who had these crimes that kind of mimic that a little bit. So he kind of goes to him for advice on some Hannibal Lecter stuff. So I thought that was cool. So that made me like that scene a little bit more. But honestly, I could have did without it still.
Yeah, and a couple of the. Go ahead, Henry.
Oh no, I was gonna backdoor that with he also dropped a little tidbit on like kind of how his Joker potentially would be
Yeah,
as
like the little
yeah, like
mango
the
case
medical
thing.
condition to where, you know, he has like a forced smile, like the muscles in his face are literally locked in to where he literally cannot stop smiling.
And I thought that was
First of all,
interesting. That was a cool way.
I enjoy Barry Keoghan in every role. I don't go look him up right now. If you haven't seen him in a lot of the stuff or you don't remember him, but I'm curious. A lot of the conversation here, I want to remind people that this is, you know, could be one in a trilogy movie. So some of the things that you feel are, and I'm not even just saying you, Car, but I'm just in general for the room. Some of the things that you may be missing, or some of the things that you think like aren't complete. This could very well be, and not only is it already like there's spin-offs, there's some TV shows coming out. There's, you know, a lot of stuff coming out. This is one of potentially another trilogy. And I think when we talk about, oh, we could have done without this, or we could have gotten this, or have this, maybe
Right.
these things come up in the Batman 2 and the Batman 3 or whatever the hell they're going to be called. So I want
And
to
that's
say
what made me
that.
like it more. I just thought it was just like out of nowhere, but the fact that it actually was a part of the story was like, okay, so it just shows that, like you said, he's really planting the seeds for every, you know, for
I
everything.
really,
Like
yeah.
even Gotham being flooded, you know, we needed Gotham to be destroyed so it could get plunged into even deeper darkness right now. Like this shit is beyond saving. You can't save this city, you know. So it's like
The
we needed that bad thing to happen.
Yes, and I think we needed that because, you know, I think we can talk about Nolan films now. I think the Bane Stadium, right? We need the Bane. I want a Bane Stadium scene in every goddamn Batman movie quickly. And here's why, so I can be committed. Because I tweeted, the Riddler enjoys psychological warfare, likes to play games and hide in the shadows, and has less than 1K followers that will echo anything and everything he says with pride. Sounds like all he's missing is a podcast, and he'll be fine. And so I said that jokingly, but also I was dead ass. Because the minute that I recognized that he was a problem was when he was going to incorporate followers to then affect innocent bystanders. It's that point where the antagonist and or villain or antihero, whatever iteration that occurs at whatever point in the movies, is when he's like, Gotham must pay. And I'm like, damn, there's a lot of like innocent people in Gotham. Like, why Gotham gotta pay? What's going on here? And so I need that moment sometimes. And so when the Riddler was like, yeah, let's just all go and start shooting people and flooding this town. I'm like, damn, a lot of innocent, like I was watching that, I was like, damn, Riddler caught a few bodies. Like, of course the movie's not going to show that, but Riddler caught a lot of bodies in this movie, guys. A lot of innocent bystanders struggled in this movie, whether it was on screen or not. And so I really enjoyed
If you can't
that
swim, you're fucked.
because part of the worst people, the worst characters, I mean, I'm in real life and in movies. Carmine Falcon, Imani, I want to come back because you said it, and that's where I wanted to get. So me and you are on the same page with that. Carmine Falcon kind of was just like the puppeteer, right? Is that the right term for it? And was running the show, calling on the shots, but he up there showing up to funerals, having, you know, women, touching Selena Kyle's face. He was kind of evading everything. He's like one of the worst type of villains, right? Where they just smile in your face. Oh, it's just me and the boys playing pool in my, you know, like nothing's going on. Oh yeah, I'm funneling drugs through the community, but you know, who cares? Yeah, I killed this. And so those are the most dangerous people. And so he kind of like made this whole thing that he was the rat. I really, really enjoyed that movie, and it gave me again the Seven, the Hush, the Zodiac Killer. It definitely was like, okay, this is how you make a good movie with those blurred lines. And it's the guy that keeps smiling in glasses that you need, that just pretends like everything's Gucci. He actually strangled one woman on the phone in that movie, and then we know he probably strangled Selena Kyle's mom also off screen before the movie. And I'm like, this guy is awful. And you know, he's low-key just as bad, if not worse than the Riddler in a certain, again, like the Riddler got his bodies, and so I was like, well, Riddler, you up there. But that, I appreciated that kind of diversity in who was the villain, who was the antagonist, and things like that. Alex? Alex?
Oh, yeah. I think somebody may have already mentioned it, but I think personally my favorite character is Gotham itself in this film, and I like how Reeves, which kind of goes to show how deep he is into the Batman lore, of how Gotham itself is a character within its own, as far as this being a dilapidated, overly corrupted city that this man, as far as with Bruce, is trying to take into saving. And I think like the biggest parallel of that was the scene where he saw the mayor's son basically mirroring him coming off his parents' death, which I think was really cool. And also, I think the final scene where he was taking everybody from the stadium also mirrors that. I think probably maybe my least favorite scene though is probably the Joker scene, which I kind of just like. All right, it's
Damn,
cool.
y'all
I
didn't
guess.
like that scene?
No, I mean like it's not hamstrung. I like how he did it, but like I guess people were coming. Well, I know for me,
We didn't
it
need
is.
it. We didn't need it.
Yeah, it's kind of like we didn't need it, but it is going to be ultimately inevitable as far as with he's got to come.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
like that. I like that.
it's the yin to it's the yin to yang connotation. But I think also, and I mentioned it to as more and more as I go on it. Shit, man, come back.
Alex, please.
My bad.
I'm gonna go ahead and just chime in real quick. Two things. Number one, I think every movie has done a great job of characterizing Gotham. Do anybody? I think Gotham is well portrayed in every Batman movie. I think we get to feel the people of the city and how they feel about everything that's going on both sides. And we get the protesting groups, we get the people that go against Batman, we get the people that go with Batman. I think Gotham is portrayed really well in a lot of Batman movies, if not all of them. Like there's some that it's like not
Joker too.
Yeah,
We never
I
really.
think that's a theme that's well expressed. I mean, if we have to celebrate every movie, like what does every Batman movie do well? I think they're they get us pretty damn committed to Gotham. I'm like, I'd be concerned about Gotham every time I watch a movie. I'm like, all right, man, take care of Gotham now. What were you gonna say, Pages?
I was gonna say we never really get to see like the most affected by like Gotham's or the only time we see those most affected are usually as criminals, right? Even in the beginning of this movie, the Batman, where he beats up a bunch of those kids, which I seem a bunch of like they ain't really got nothing. They're not middle class kids. They're not whatever. Da, 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 da. They just some rando kids that probably come from the worst parts of Gotham. And the only time we see the people that bring out those worst parts of Gotham are really as always as criminals. We don't get to see the other parts. So like
You're not
even
gonna
when
see the other parts unless they put out a rated R movie.
and which I wish. I mean, hey, they should do that,
Nah,
right?
R-rated film ain't never happening.
Let's.
You mean homeless people?
I mean, let's get a moment of like, yeah, but beyond that, right? Beyond homeless people, like for example, I think about what the MCU does, and particularly when they did around Civil War, for example, and the ways that like it showed just very regular people in their everyday lives, or had that moment with the mom of the kid that died in the building that Wanda ended up booming off or whatever. So like I would love to see more of those moments of Gotham, because when that bridge got blew up, the first thing that I said, similar to what you were saying, Mo, I was like, damn, there goes the South Side. All them motherfuckers on the South Side that's about to get washed up, and nobody's gonna give a shit, because while
Yeah.
Batman is over here protecting the elite and protecting the mayor and protecting all these people that were already on the upper echelon, that were already on the upper side of Gotham, but nobody's giving a shit about these people that are going to be the most affected. And so it's like
That's why they threw a bone with the little scene with the woman getting carried in the helicopter, right?
right in the
That was them.
helicopter,
That was
right?
them
That was
throwing us
supposed
that
to be
bone.
that bone.
Yeah.
To be fair
Exactly.
though,
Yeah.
those people didn't have like
Exactly.
assault rifles aimed at them though. To be fair,
I think.
What you say?
I mean,
No, I'm
okay.
saying the people that's like that's left like what you're saying. I agree. The fact that Batman is over here like defending these people, the elite. to be fair, the elite had like assault rifles aimed at them, like people were like trying to shoot them and stuff.
Yes,
So he
yes,
had
that's fair.
to.
That's fair.
Yeah, you mean
I,
like guns weren't aimed at like like the niggas around the way.
you know what's crazy? The scene that I would have removed is the Alfred and Batman scene. I didn't like that scene. It didn't.
The hospital
It
one?
wasn't. Yeah, when they're in the hospital and he's like, "Oh, why'd you lie to me?" And actually that was, it was broken up into two pieces. The "why'd you lie to me" section was fine, but then when they came back and it was like, "Oh, this is what happened," I was like, I don't know why, but that scene, I do know why. That scene felt very weird to me. I didn't really like the performances in that moment, and I didn't like where it was in the movie. I think it should have been much earlier in the movie if it had to occur. And then I also disagree with everybody talking about the Joker scene. I love the Joker scene. I thought that should have been the end of the movie though. So when you gave me more after that, I was like, no. Let me sit with a joke. Like, that's a haunting, chilling, like that's how you close out a horror film. Again, part of me enjoyed that, like, we ended on like the romantic, "Oh, I'm looking at you through the mirror of my motorcycle back at, watching you leave Gotham as I have to go and continue my quote unquote vengeance Batman story." I appreciated that scene. I wish that scene came before the Paul Dano Barry Cogan scene, the Riddler Joker scene. And I wish we ended on just those chilling laughters between the two. And then I feel like y'all would have been like, "Oh, okay, this is setting it up for the next one." But because that wasn't the last scene, I think a lot of us were like, "What's going on here? Why did we do that?" So
I
that's
I
agree
kind of
with
agree with
you.
that.
that's
I
my
agree
take.
with you on that, Mo.
You
I
feel what
agree
I'm
with that
saying?
wholeheartedly. Yeah, you're right. I think if they had placed the scene in a different place, yeah, you're right on that.
Yeah, like, you feel
Uh,
me?
Yeah,
apparently,
but
like
they
the
well, we're supposed to get those
apparently like
scenes.
the other
Actually, we're
cut
supposed to
is
leak
is
those
a more
scenes.
developed version of it. Also with the ending too, I think it's so many jumping points as far as the next villain. Like I've heard like a couple of leakers have said that was like in the longer cut is some explicit mentions of Mr. Freeze, which I think that would probably be the perfect character to do for the sequel. And again I've been seeing.
Uh-oh. Spaces is acting up. I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead. And then Mess, I know
Yeah,
you had your hand up. Go ahead
it,
after Alex. Go ahead.
yeah, I
Finish,
saw
Alex.
people mentioning. I mentioned it too with the Court of Owls. I know with the subsequent spinoffs that are coming out with Penguin. I think the Gotham City Police
And
Department
Catwoman.
show is on hold, and they are flipping that into something with Arkham, which I would love. Which that could be one of my favorite stories from A Serious House of Arkham, which is kind of a horror story within itself as far as with the dilapidated sections of Arkham as a whole. But yeah, I think for me personally, with the ending, I think Freeze would be the best villain to go with for the sequel.
Mess?
Yeah, I was gonna say they couldn't make that the last scene because that's exactly what Nolan did with the Batman Begins. It was like
And it
the
was
last scene
and
of the
it
movie
was
was like
and it was well done.
yeah, it was but still you can't do the same exact thing like that they did before. Like Nolan teased the Joker with Gordon saying, "Yo, there's another guy. He left
Yeah,
a car," and now
they've
you've
been
got
copying.
and
I
now you've
mean,
got
They've been
this
copying.
right.
this
You
is
can't do that. I mean, you can, but
yes, you can,
guess what?
because
Then
we
everyone's
copy
gonna
a lot.
but
This is
then
Batman. What's going on? What you
right,
mean?
but then people are gonna say literally like, "Yo, you copied off of Nolan." So I can see why you put it where it was. And again, like
They're
we're gonna
comparing
get
him to Nolan anyways. I think that would be good. Yeah, do the same thing. You're right. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's why that scene was not, would never cut out that scene. I think it was placed in the wrong way. Like, I don't know. It was just weird. But
and I wouldn't have cut it out either. I think
yeah,
I do agree with you where I do agree with you. They should not have they shouldn't have split up the whole Batman
yeah, that
saving things. They shouldn't have split that up. They should have left that. And the next scene should have been him seeing Selena at her mom's grave. Right. So
exactly.
after the Joker, those guys laugh, then it's Selena, and then the movie ends. The one thing I wanted to say though before was like when Riddler was confronting Batman at the end, and he was like, "Yo, you did all this." Yo, he was really trying to frame Batman because if you think about like they kept cutting to the camera that was the security camera that was watching, right? And he kept saying like yo, I couldn't do this. I'm not strong. But you took him to the light. You took him exactly where I wanted you to take him.
No, that's what
And
I
he
was
and
saying
I got
earlier.
and well,
Yeah,
but the way you guys are saying is like he was being like they were equals. And what I'm saying is he was basically framing Batman to make it seem like we did this. Like you and I, you're just as culpable as me, as far as should be
Well,
locked up and going to jail.
That's what the Riddler. Yeah, we're talking about the perspective from the Riddler. That's what the Riddler was trying to do, and some points were made. Batman, you were an accomplice, my boy. What you mean? You were an accomplice, and I like the way that they toyed with that. You know what I mean? Obviously, we know quote unquote intent, and we know that, and Batman said it. We don't even have to speculate here. Batman said it. It doesn't matter. We kind of have to play his game no matter what, and that's what makes him a villain too. Like, okay, let's say I don't follow your riddles and I'm not an accomplice. You just gonna go around killing everybody anyways. If I do follow your riddles, you're gonna go around killing everybody anyways. But at least maybe I will stop you in as much as I can, which is why we got the Joker scene. Which is why, again, I would never cut out the Joker scene, because the Joker scene solidified that the Riddler was not happy about how everything turned out. And this is Bruce Wayne's name. It's always somebody else's name, and no one thinks about us. And the Joker was like, damn, he really took your shine. That was comedic relief to me too. I thought that was hilarious. Joker came in with jokes like, damn, it's not even you on camera. It's the Batman vigilante. You took another L, but hey, I can help you come back. So I thought that was fun. Rishi Raja?
Yeah, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, on the topic of least favorite scene, I mean, my least favorite scene was also the Alfred scene, but I feel see, I like this movie, but I'm gonna go see it again this weekend, so I may have some things out of order. But I feel like the widespread praise, I had a lot more gripes than I think most people did. And with the Alfred scene in particular, I mean, I think that's emblematic of a lot of things that I felt like this movie did in the back half, that people are more so just giving it credit for stuff it started with. So for example, the corruption stuff with the Waynes, it seems like they're building this giant plot story of the Riddlers uncovering the fact that the Waynes were involved in this massive corruption in Gotham. And then Alfred,
right,
10 minutes after they reveal that, Alfred's like, well, actually, they didn't actually have anything to do with
yeah,
it.
I
And
didn't
Dad
like
just
that.
wanted him to rough him up, right? And so then I'm just wondering, why would you?
Right.
It would be so much easier to just make the Waynes the historic family and evil force that now Batman has to fight to overcome, right? The actual sins of the father, right?
And here's
then
the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm with you. I don't even need it to be the evil. I don't even have to end with the evil parents. But let me sit with the thought that they could be way longer. I think that's where you hit it perfectly. It was
it felt
8
like it was
minutes later.
actually 10
It was
minutes of runtime.
yeah, it was 8-10 minutes later. It was no, chill out. Your dad was a cool guy, and it was damn, y'all had and not only that, we were sitting with Batman's response to sins of his father. And that was dope to me. And so for Alfred to just come in and be like, yeah, no, it was this. It's damn, we didn't even let Carmine Falcon's line sit a little bit. And that would have been really fire. That's why I said maybe put it earlier in the movie, way earlier in the movie. By the time this is 2.5 hours in, I'm like, well, then just don't tease me like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
because Turturro was in his bag. He lied
exactly.
very convincingly.
I damn near didn't believe Alfred. I said, nah, Alfred, you lying. I know Carmine did what he needed to be done, because he was very believable. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm so glad you said something, because that was my issue. That was my gripe.
Yeah, nah, for sure. And even with the police corruption and culpability, they walk that back too, right? Because you guys were saying earlier, he comes out and there's 100 cops waiting to arrest Falcone, right? Compare that to The Dark Knight, even when an integral part in the back end of The Dark Knight is that Gordon can't even trust his own unit, right? One of the cops is the one that ends up she was supposed to take Gordon's wife and kids home or something like that, or she was the one that was supposed to take Rachel home, and that's how she ends up, tied up to the bomb. That was a big part of The Dark Knight, is just, we can't trust any of these cops except for Gordon, because they all might be on the mob payroll. They might be working for the Joker. It felt like they walked all of that back at the end of this film, when they could have just made Gordon the only good cop and used that as a chance to fill out his own backstory. Because I didn't feel like Gordon actually did anything in this movie. I couldn't point to one thing where I was like, oh, Gordon was responsible for this and only Gordon could have done it. He was
He's
just kind of
just,
standing around, trading bars with Batman.
which was enough for me personally, just from an acting perspective
Oh, I
and
massively
filmmaking
enjoyed it
perspective.
for
But
sure.
yes, I see that, like, from a storyline for character arc for Officer Gordon, there was really just he was just kind of like there.
In the year one comic that they're kind of like picking stories from, like Gordon does play a bigger role. Like most of his is actually from his perspective, as far as like when the Batman first shows up and he's working with Harvey Dent in the DA's office. So I think
Yeah,
they could definitely expand his role in like a sequel.
Yeah,
exactly.
and obviously, there's more movies coming and shows and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
I felt that way about a lot of the supporting cast, aside from Zoe Kravitz. I was like, Penguin doesn't really have any backstory. Like, there's nothing really behind that character that he can throw around, other than obviously just giving like a very good performance, like Colin Farrell did. But
Penguin has always been comedic to me, and he did exactly what needed to be done by being hilarious in this movie. Like,
oh
even
yeah, he was
in
cooking.
the car chase, I was like, he was actually like making me laugh. He's like, this psycho motherfucker. Like, it was hilarious to me. Any other gripes?
He
Because
was doing Robert De Niro doing Joe Pesci. It was great.
exactly. Um, any other gripes? Because I am opening the floor for gripes now. I'm glad I'm floor for gripes. I'm glad that we
I've
can
been
talk
waiting
about
for the
things.
negativity hour.
I
I
love a
would
good
have
slant.
kept that whole car chase out of. Well, Mo, you said you went in
Excuse me?
blind, but they
You would have
put a
what?
lot of the car chase in the trailers, and I wouldn't have put that much in there, to be honest.
I agree.
Oh,
I
y'all
thought
didn't
there
get
was going to be a
excited
lot
about it like
more.
that? Yeah,
No, I
y'all.
did get excited, but they put a little too much of it in the trailers. I
Like
did,
that
and
upside
yeah,
down shot. You
I'm
can't
that
gonna
pull that
neutral.
in.
yes,
Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna
yes.
neutral host card that and say I see why, because that scene was fucking fire. If you wanna get people to watch a movie, look forward to that scene, because that was the best fucking movie. Top 3. I'm
Bruce Wayne
curious
is in
to
the
hear
Fast
y'all's
family. I'm happy about it.
period. That was really, really exciting. Because you know what? Another gripe. That is not the sexiest, visually aesthetic Batmobile that I have seen. However, the sound and the way it drove, I was like, yes, put me in that car, Bat
It was
Daddy.
better than the Tumbler.
Well,
That little Humvee looking jump from the Dark Knight trilogy, absolutely not. This was way sexier
I
than that.
like
well, what?
Go ahead, Imani.
Oh, I was just gonna say it actually makes sense because it's year 2, so he starts out with a very basically he starts out with a simple car and
I mean,
Yes.
that was a Camaro. Let's
and
keep it a bug.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he hasn't added tech to his car yet. It's just a nice, expensive car that over the years he's gonna start adding things to it. So I really like that they kept it to a nice car that could do a car chase.
Yes. They really went full. It felt very. I can't think of the word right now, but I'm glad that
It
it
reminded me
checks
of the
out.
French Connection.
Is
And
that
it makes
Yeah, or like
sense.
Bullet or any of these old school, like very
Yeah.
practically shot car chases. It was great.
definitely old school, but I think that's exactly what I'm thinking. But it wasn't just old school. Like wasn't just giving. I think that might not be enough praise for it. It was old school, but it was like it helped support Batman's character for me, because the way they kind of introduced the car was just like they revved the engine and then he stopped too, which to me a parallel to how Batman kept like coming into the scenes, right? Like when he was walking without the car. And so I was like, I like this. Just give me a loud ass car. It's not sexy, but it can fucking drive. And it's not that it's not sexy, because whatever you guys do. If you like cars more, that's fine. You know more about cars than me. But we all know that the first image that comes in your head when you think Batmobile is not what we saw in the Batman, right? Like, what's the first image that comes in your head with the Batmobile? Which one is it? Like, stop playing with
The
me. You know what I
Batman.
mean? Which Batmobile? This one? This is the first one that comes to mind?
The
The
Keaton
one
one,
from the animated series, yeah.
Exactly.
But I feel like this is the closest looking one to something that's an actual like bat. Like I agree, the
Yes.
Tumbler was just way too. Now that's like everyone was talking about grounded and stuff like that. That's something that I feel like was weighed down by hey, how can we make this Batmobile work in real life? Oh, let me make it a tank. I feel like that's a little bit harder to work in real life than this sleek muscle car
Well,
that he has.
well, it makes sense in the
Yes,
fact that
muscle car.
it is an actual military vehicle, and that Nolan's trilogy is rooted in terrorism. It's a post 9/11 Batman. So I
Hmm.
think it's not that it's like not realistic. It makes sense in that world. But I agree, it wasn't a good car, but
Yeah,
it
that's yeah.
makes
It just
sense.
wasn't a good car for it. It's too big. It makes sense that like, oh yeah, let me use this military grade type weapon for this thing, but it's also like, bro, you gotta be chasing bad guys. I don't know. It's
But
like how
I'm
can you
actually
maneuver
I'm
that? You'll be
actually
but
running
Team
over.
Tumblr. I'm
You'll
not
be
gonna
running
I'm
over
lie.
I'm
people.
Team Tumblr only because like Christopher Nolan's gonna do that every time. He was perfect for that. Of course
And
he
there's
put that
even
car.
great sound
This is
design with the
my
Tumblr
Batmobile
too.
right here. This is my Batmobile. Definitely.
Yes. Tweet me your Batmobile, guys, because like I said, if you Google Batmobile as well, like I know which one I think of, and
Michael
it's
Keaton's is good, of course. The Tim Burton one is of course great.
J. Lee Jr.
Yeah. So I think this Batmobile just vaulted to the top for me, and it had everything to do with the way it was introduced. Literally like a
Yes.
bat out of hell. Um, is the
Yes.
best way I could describe it. The way the red lit up in the grill, it just looked like something demonic and just something that, again, Batman at that stage was purely operating off of a fear type of mandate. So it really hit the mark as far as that's concerned. If I can go back to one thing about what I didn't really like about the
Mm.
film, and I don't want to say I didn't like it. I don't want to say I didn't like it. It was just I think I kind of got the point and they kind of did it again. Um, we're supposed to understand that Bruce Wayne is kind of living in a state of arrested development. He's like stuck as that little boy that watched his parents die. Um, and you kind of see that, like he sees the little boy at the funeral, and that kind of supposed to drive that home. And then when he kind of makes the turn from vengeance to hope, who's the first person that reaches out? It's the little boy that reaches out to him when he's going to save those people. Like they kept kind of pointing at that, and I appreciated that they were doing it visually instead of talking about it. But seeing it a couple of times is just something I could have gone without because I got the point by the time we got there. But that was really it on that regard.
So some redundant gripe, some redundancy gripe. Fair enough. Dietrich.
Yo, sorry about that. Yeah. I'm really griping about what I feel like they kept on outshining Zoe Kravitz every once in a while. Like it's hard to do because she's perfection, but they kept on trying to do it, and I don't appreciate that. For instance, there's that really satisfying scene that you've kind of been waiting for the whole movie when she gets to confront the creep, beat up a bunch of pool like sharks, and like try to take out her dad / like assaulter. And I've been waiting for this moment the whole movie, and they keep on flashing back to the Batman doing an epic fight scene to break into the club, right? And it's like everything you want from a comic book fight scene, especially a Batman comic book fight scene, where it feels like it's almost panels and you're getting illuminated by gun blasts. It's fantastic. But it's right in the middle of my girl finally clawing some dude's eyes out. It's like, why now? Why now? Like, can I just enjoy the moment?
You see, there's a common theme here. It's just some of the misplaced scenes. It's just like, wait, can we sit with this for a little bit? Why you? And we covered a lot in a very, very, very beautiful and successful way. But yeah, I hear the gripes in some cases. I mean, as a writer and filmmaker myself, I know that now that I've watched it twice, I'm like, yeah, let me sit with this, which is why I think it's funny when people are like, this movie was too long. I'm like, low key, give me 30 more minutes so I can sit with some of these scenes a little more.
I think, yeah, I agree with you. Not that it needs to be longer, but I think that the second act drags where they could have shortened the second act and extended the third act. Because like the previous person said,
Agreed.
those two scenes, they shouldn't have been mirroring each other. And
Yes.
thirdly, because I had a gripe about that, because that scene is awesome. Like the red lights, the shuddering, like it's
Oh,
beautiful, but like it didn't need
chills.
to happen with Zoe. And also, like Zoe, it's like I wanted her to claw his eyes out more because that's such an iconic thing from the comics as well. When she claws Carmine's face, she barely scratches him. In the comics, she literally like claws half of his face. And I wanted
Yeah.
that to really be longer because he deserved it. He's a
Yes.
terrible father.
He's a terrible person, right? Like he's a terrible person in general. And I know there's not a lot of quote unquote but in this film, but yeah, like when she clawed him, I could have taken that, like you can claw me, Zoe, and you didn't do nothing. And so that's why I definitely agree. Like we can sit with these,
Yeah,
we
right,
could just
Lonnie?
and it's interesting. Like I'm just talking about like some of the intercuts too. Like Dietrich, exactly what you're saying. Like some of these intercuts, I was just like, why did we go from this to this? Like who was it earlier? Rishi Raja, when we're talking about going from like the Carmine Falcon back to Alfred, just like immediately being like, no, that's not what happened. Like you gotta let me sit with some of these things for a little bit because, and I think it speaks to how cohesive and chilling and deep-seated the first act was. Like it sounds like we were all like super committed in the first act. Holy okay, what's going to happen next? What are we doing? It was a very, very powerful first act. And then we were like, okay, some of these things, like I want to sit with a little bit more of this in the third act. And why did you cut to this? And why, like one of my favorite scenes in the third act was towards the beginning of it, or towards the end, towards the middle of the third act, was the scene where he's leading everybody through the water. I still have a gripe about it though, because I felt like it was intercut with a lot of other stuff that we did not, I just didn't understand the sequencing in some of the third act. Even if we don't get to sit with them longer, then reorder some of these things so that it feels like I'm sitting with these scenes a little bit longer. So I haven't, I'm still workshopping like kind of what that looks like. I'd have to like watch the movie with y'all to show y'all what scenes I'm talking. And if you've seen it twice, you probably kind of see what I'm talking about. If you've only seen it once, maybe you don't. But like there's some scenes in the third act where it's like, okay, let me sit this. Don't intercut with Joey. Don't do this. Like, let me sit with some of these scenes and like, because this is the third act supposed to be my payoff. I'm supposed to be like breathing at this point. Like, okay, all right, Bella Real. All right, cool. Officer Gordon. Okay, cool. The Riddler's locked up. Okay, cool. Batman. What are you gonna do? Okay, cool. Like, I'm supposed to be sighing and sighs of relief here, or twist or shocks or whatever with him, planting the bridges and stuff, which I think was a good job. I think I like the way they did that. The carpet tool, and Officer Martinez like exposing Dad was a thing. Was a conjure, what the case may be. I thought that was one, but just some of the sequencing was a little bit like we could have shifted some stuff around. Imani, what were you gonna say? You unmuted.
Yeah, I was gonna say I totally agree with you. Like the editing of that entire third act, like the second half of it, I just feel like you said, like just shift some things around because like action problems aside, I think the third act isn't as bad as people say. When you ignore the action, it's really the sequencing
Correct.
that people are really griping with,
Yep.
not so much the action. Because I don't really think people were expecting action because it's a noir film and it's Reeves. And I mean, Robert Pattinson is a stick. Like realistically, you weren't looking for this to be a big action film. So like you could kind of ignore that. It's really
Exactly.
the editing.
Yep.
That's the gripe.
Thank you, Imani. Yep. Beware the ends of Marco. Beware the ends. There you go.
So dang, I guess we've talked about a lot. I will say, I love the Batmobile. I think this might be my favorite Batmobile, just because to me it felt. I'm also pro Tumblr, but to me felt closest or truest to Gotham as a character, Robert Pattinson as a character, or as Batman. And somebody mentioned like it felt like a bat out of hell, and I definitely agree with that. I don't think I like that it wasn't like kind of this sleek, sexy car. It was like this grunge muscle car.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, it really worked for me, and I thought the chase scene was amazing. I also I kind of liked the ending and how they cut it together. I think having the scene, kind of the verbal send off with Catwoman and kind of like, oh, come with me, and he's like, I can, and then we cut to basically the reason that he can't is not so much, and I also like, and the reason I like it not at the end is because it's less about the joke, showing or revealing the Joker, and more about, there's a power vacuum in Gotham. Two, this is just like showing you that Gotham is never going to change. Like, yes, the Riddler's gone, but now he's got this new friend who seems crazy and maniacal, whatever. And then we cut back to, to me, it felt like it almost played as like, kind of this longer version of a reverse shot. And so it worked for me. I liked it. I think ending on the Joker kind of feels, one, like somebody mentioned that like they did it in Batman Begins. So there's that. And then two, it feels like you're trying to set up the Joker. And I don't think Matt Reeves wants to do that at all. At least I hope not. I personally am Joker fatigued, and I am a Joker.
He said don't expect him. It's just to kind of plant that seed to where they've encountered each other before, but he said don't expect to.
Here's my thing with that though, guys.
Because I'm Joker, and I feel like, and Matt has mentioned he wants to explore other villains like Hush, and things like that, and it kind of like sets up more of it sets up Arkham just as an asylum, which they're changing that TV series that was about the Gotham Police Department. They're kind of shifting into it more about being Arkham as kind of this haunted house, kind of like, it was in the video games. So I think we'll get more of Gordon in the series, but also we'll focus more on Arkham and other villains.
Here's my thing with the Joker scene real quick. And raise your hand, Bam, if you want to go ahead and speak too. Okay. If the Joker is not going to be highlighted in the others, then that scene didn't need to be that long. Because really, the purpose of that scene is to watch the Riddler not completely succeed in what he tried to do towards the end in his villainy. And I think that a powerful villain and a powerful actor can do that on his own. And then maybe you just have the Joker laugh a little bit, because again, we know who the Joker is. We knew the Joker was talking to him the minute he opened his mouth in this movie. So then I propose that if Joker's not going to be in anything, we want to explore more villains, then you don't even need him that heavy in the scene. You don't need him doing the riddle back to him. You don't need all of that. Let's just sit with the Riddler looking out of the window, because that was dope, walking around his cell shook, seeing Batman on the TV. Like, let's just sit with Paul Dano in that situation for a minute and a half. You don't even have to bring the Joker in.
I kind of like that they.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm
just presenting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It works for. I don't think I would have liked it as much had we like stayed with Paul. Like, I just think because
if we just stayed with Paul and then had the Joker laugh in the background a little bit, because you made a point about like it being an asylum and there are other people there, and
I don't know that line when he was like, something about where he said something about being a clown. I thought that was a bar, so I'm kind of happy that it wasn't just his laugh.
Even just that, stop him at that. It felt a little long, and again, like I said, for the sequencing for me, it just felt like, I don't know, maybe don't put it there. I'm not a fan of cutting it out, but for those of you that loved it so much or that hated it so much, I'm like trying to find like a happy medium, because I think, again, what was the purpose of that scene? What is the purpose of showing them to? There has to be a purpose. And to me, the purpose of that scene was less, Joker was a tool in that scene, but the purpose of that scene was to express that, once again, Batman wins, basically. And we could do that. We could sit with Paul Dano in that, and you could still portray the same message.
To me,
sorry.
I'm just say this and I'm done.
Go ahead.
To me, it came off, the theme of it was Gotham is never changing, because yes, Paul Dano's locked up, and then there's somebody else who's, obviously scheming, who's also locked up but scheming, and it's showing that like these villains are going to become friends, and they might be friends with, they'll form alliances with other
And
members
that's
of our things like
yeah, and
that.
that's a
We
common
need him
theme. But
showing
y'all
up
are
like
but
Nick
y'all are
Fury at the end of movie.
but y'all are saying that Matt doesn't even want to do that. But I'm like I said, I said that earlier that maybe Matt is setting some stuff up for later, so the gripes
Well,
may
yeah,
be
setting stuff up.
ameliorated here in the second and third, however, whatever they decide to do. Maybe they can just do the TV shows. I don't know. This is a business. But yeah, I don't know. I like this conversation around this scene because that I had no gripes with it personally. Maybe just a little bit of sequencing, but I had no gripes with it personally. I had a
Um,
huge issue with the hospital scene. Go ahead
my
and
my
finish. Beware. Hold on. Bam. Beware. Go ahead. Finish, and then Pages, and then Junior, and then Teacher.
Yeah, I think from what I've been reading, it seems like Matt wants to steer away from Joker and kind of focus on some other villains. I think it looks like he's really interested in Hush, and yeah, and I've heard things about Mr. Freeze and things like that.
Yeah.
Also, tidbit, I just remembered there's like this thing. I'm gonna see if I'll tweet it and like share the link or whatever. But there's like this Reddit thread going on right now where they're trying to figure out like this riddle, pretty much similar to the riddle in the movie, and it seems to be like the riddles. There's like a timer on it, and it seems like the timer's gonna come on Friday. I personally think it might be a deleted scene with Batman and the Joker because I know I read that they shot him Barry a bunch, but they basically cut everything out but that last scene. So I'm that and share it in
Thank
here.
you. Pages.
Real quick, couple of things. One, just the Joker scene, and I think that I do see what you're saying, Mo, on the sequencing, and that, which is why also then leads me. It could have been any other villain, to be honest. It could have been Black Mask. It could have been actual Hush. It could have been anybody else. You know what I'm saying? And I think people would have been way more excited if it wasn't Joker. People would have been fine with the scene being there if it wasn't Joker.
There's another.
Right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people might be experiencing Joker fatigue. I guess like we're tired of Joker. We know the Joker exists. We know the Joker. Let's find other ways, because at least when Nolan did it, yes, he introduced it, but it was subtle enough. It wasn't so long, and it was like very subtle. Here's a card. Oh shit, this might come up later. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. It was extremely well done.
It was extremely well done, very well done. I also want to go back to what you were saying about, and I think Jamel brought this up too. Yeah, they nerfed Catwoman way too much. She was so nerfed, and there was nothing more symbolizing of that than when she scratched Falcone, where it was like, that's it. You're supposed to like gouge his eye out. Like, what's going on? And they really nerfed Catwoman in a way that just made her a bit less exciting, especially when you have somebody like Zoe, who clearly did so much work and like really bodied that role, both as Selena Kyle or as a Catwoman, situation. Like, she really bodied that role, and the fact that they nerfed her so much just to constantly up Batman or constantly up everybody else, it just kind of it felt very weird for sure. Which brings me then to my last point. Another scene that I did not like. Actually did not like the scene with that the electrical thing that was hanging and he had to go cut it before it touched the water. I did not like that scene. That scene, because it was like,
Imani,
I
that's
guess
the second half of the third act conversation there too.
It's just it just felt like this movie had a lot of endings.
They walked back immediately as well.
What'd you say,
Out of the
Rishi?
water. It's another big moment. They walk back immediately as well.
Right.
They made it sound so huge. He just pops out of the water a second later.
And then, he's outside the water a second later. And the same way he was with the gliding thing, when he was Mr. Squirrel, he got hit by the bus and he got up like, I'm okay, guys. Sorry, I'm okay. No problem.
Yeah, he base jumped into a bridge.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I wish they would let us linger. They would either let us linger in Batman's humanity by proxy of Bruce Wayne, and the fact that you're not some super dude that's just gonna keep getting shot, at almost point blank range by AK-47s and whatnot, and just walk around like, what I'm saying, like, even if you got body armor on, bullets still fucking hurt, and this motherfucker was getting shot up every 10 seconds. And I'm just like, is he never gonna have a moment where he just actually just like, all right, cool, y'all gotta stop shooting me now. Let's relax a little bit. How are we gonna get that moment? And so, like, when that scene happened, I was like, well, the movie is over. We know he's gonna make it. He basically just beat Riddler
Right?
already.
I'm telling you,
So,
it's the editing at the end. I'm like, well, yeah, at this point, I'm not committed to some of the things that you want me to be committed to. I already know
you
what the fuck
know,
going on. Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think what
so
you're saying about him popping back up and stuff sort of connects to what we're talking about with the Batmobiles and with like the story in general being grounded and all that. Like, if you look at the Dark Knight trilogy and you look at things like the Tumblr, you look at things like the sonar off the cell phones, like what I believe Imani was saying earlier, like this is a post 9/11 film. This type of Batman is super high up on technology, and the conflict there is what kind of Lucius Morgan Freeman brings up, where he's just sort of like, how much is security worth privacy and people's personal liberties, right? And then you look at this film; it's supposed to be super grounded, super stripped down, and you see that in his armor, right? Like his bat like helmet is just like a piece of leather versus
Yep.
Christian Bale, who's like getting attacked by dogs and is like, all right, hook up the super like diesel
Right.
suit, like I need to be able to take anything. So then when you're
right,
approaching Batman from that aspect and then your action sequences aren't matching up, like
Yep.
I love the moment when he gets to the top of the building and he screams a little bit because he's scared of heights, right? But then when you do that and then you have an action sequence where he crashes into a bridge and then just kind of walks off and he's fine, we saw more even in the Dark Knight. Like after he gets attacked by the dogs, he has to be stitching up his arm and he's like, yo,
Yeah.
listen, this can't
yeah,
happen again, right? We
I
didn't
keep,
really
I
get that
keep,
with the action in this movie.
yeah, I keep saying, let me sit with it. Right. Bam. Go ahead. And then Jay Lee Jr.
Yeah, real quick because I'm about to hop off. Just to walk back to some points beforehand. Joker scene, I wasn't crazy about it, but I didn't hate it.
Mhm.
I do agree that it could have been shorter. Maybe even just flash through. What I do think it's doing is letting everyone know that it's not about them working together or anything of that nature. It's more so that no matter how many of these crazies Batman puts in the asylum, there's going to be another one. He already dealt with the Joker, and we didn't see that, but now he's put the Riddler in there. Well, clearly there's going to be more. In regards to who's going to be the next villain, if they continue this, whether it's TV shows or whatnot, I'm not going to spoil this for you guys. But if you ever watch the Batman animated movie Hush, you'll see why it can't be Hush, and I'm going to leave that there. I would love for them to explore Mr. Freeze. I think Victor Freeze is an extremely compelling villain, especially
Why
knowing his
haven't we
motivations.
explored Mr. Freeze as much
Uh,
in live action
because
DC films? Does anybody know?
I think it's because of the
Arnold
bad taste.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, the bad taste of the Schwarzenegger movie, and they've gone in this whole like quote unquote grounded realism route, where a guy walking around shooting ice beams like a Pokemon isn't really of that.
Well,
But
I
I
don't
would
know.
love to see it.
They need to take a page from Green Lantern and see that you could have the balance with the realism and also some whatever gadgets you got going on, whatever
Hey,
superpowers you
I
got
feel
going on.
you. Look, Mr.
Look
Freeze
how
in a
successful
Batman
that
movie.
was. Yeah.
Mr. Freeze in a Batman movie is like Dwayne Johnson running for president. I don't care what it's about. I'm about it. But the last thing I have to comment on is the Catwoman nerf, because we're always saying this and like, oh, she was nerfed because to hype up Batman and she can stand toe to toe with him. Remember earlier, Mo, I said this at the beginning of the space. I don't know if people were here for this, but in this specific iteration of Catwoman, she is not an upper class woman. She's a lower class woman. In the streets, maybe I don't, wherever she learned how to fight a little bit or whatever, wherever she learned that. But she doesn't have the breadth of resources that she has in most of her iterations. Bruce learned all his, martial arts and ninja stuff because he had the ability to, gallivant around the world for 12 years, fucking off and learning how to kick butt.
Like
Catwoman didn't have that.
Mm-hmm. I like that perspective.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, so when everybody's like, oh, she was nerfed, I'm like, nah, she just doesn't have ninja training. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Also,
And
she's not even the Catwoman yet.
right,
She's
Yep.
the cat. Like she hasn't even proclaimed it. She hasn't done a big like museum score. Like this is her origin too.
right,
Yeah,
right.
no
We're
one
watching
has a name.
dual
The
Exactly.
origin.
only person that can have them is Riddler.
Yeah,
Right,
and yeah, so when I think nerf, I don't think nerfed in that, and thank you for saying that, Bam, because you're exactly right. And we about this. I don't think that she was nerfed in that way, but I do think that the Carmine Falcone or Falcone, whatever, that little section could have been a little bit better, and
for
also
sure.
in some aspects, because I don't think she was. Whoever said that she was just supported was also not true. She argued with Batman the entire movie. She didn't agree with nothing Batman
Facts.
wanted to do. Um, so I don't think she was nerfed in that aspect, but I think it was. I think there were moments where we could have sat with her scenes and let her cook, whether it was with Batman or with somebody else. We could have let her cook a little bit more because you're right. She has the streets trained. The streets raised this cat, right?
Right,
That's what she
right.
said.
This
Oh,
is
it has
the
a
alley
nice
cat.
ring to it. Yeah, this is the alley. Right, right. The stray alley cat. Like
Yeah.
the streets,
Right.
them problem too, though. Careful, but like it's not a trained
Facts.
cat woman that'll jump off a building and know how to like her claws into the side of it and land. Right,
And
like
one
Miss Mamas is only doing like 2-story buildings right now. Like just relax.
right. One final point that I believe somebody mentioned earlier in discussing that this is a noir film, so people shouldn't go in expecting, I was they you they, I think it was Imani saying you were okay with it not being like super action heavy, things of that nature. Because one of my gripes was that the fight scenes weren't really like the action pieces weren't really, outside of maybe the car chase, weren't really all that. Um, but I also, I know that a noir film, I'm probably not going to get that. General public doesn't really expect that. General
Right,
public was expecting, especially after getting the Batman fight scene we got from,
right.
Ben Affleck in Batman vs Superman, like with the warehouse scene, which is the best Batman fight scene. We, say what you want about Ben Affleck, Batman vs Superman, whatever. That's the best Batman fight scene we have had on the screen. People were
I
like, okay,
think.
you typically
Yep. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, well, people think you typically like trying to like one up the guy before you, whatever. Um, I personally think you're not going to get that from Pattinson as long as his armor is heavy. Like I said, he's more like Darth Vader than he is like an acrobatic flipping around Batman that you'd see in the animated series. So you're going to get the plotting, very just heavy blows, taking the hits, very like methodic versus
Mm.
very stylish and spectacle oriented
what
fight scenes.
what I enjoyed about fight scenes, because right, we it's like a dance, it's choreography, and what I liked was that it felt like Matt Reeves wanted to focus more on quality and choreography in the fight scenes than like grandiosity and like length and quantity. And so the scenes were beautiful, though they were short, though they weren't like, oh shit, that go crazy. It was like, wow, that was a really beautiful scene, and I like him popping out the elevator, him beating the people up in the beginning of the movie. Like those were just really pretty choreographed scenes just from a filmmaking standpoint, and I think that's where the noir comes in. And so yeah, it's not giving, you know, grandiose and crazy like everybody's, just he's throwing people up the subway, shit like that. But they were definitely just sound that was like the way the sound was dancing with the moves that he was making, the way like some of the shots,
Mhm.
like he was eating a lot of these shots, and yeah, I low key like I started to get a little frustrated, but I was like, I kind of want Batman to eat these shots in a way just so that this scene continues, because if you can't work in a time where he's getting stitched up or where he like wakes up, because I personally didn't love the scene where he wakes up inside with like 80 cops, because why? I didn't like that, and maybe that's true to source material, I don't know, but there were like 80 cops in there, and I'm like, that was a little weird to me, but I get that maybe it just made everything after that make more sense. So anyways, that's my take on the action and the fight scenes. I think they were beautiful, beautiful. Like it was just the camera was dancing, Robert Pattinson was doing his choreography well, I was just doing a good job, and it sounded really cool. I was happy about it. Dietrich, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to harken back to the Joker scene again. Sorry if I'm beating a dead horse, but I actually thought it was really good. I think it's really important because, kind of going back to that point about not really being able to split up Riddler and the Batman for the majority of the film in terms of like motivation. At the end, the Batman kind of moves from vigilante to a legitimate superhero where he's saving the day in like miraculous ways. He's swinging on cables and saving hundreds of lives. Like that's what superheroes do. And then you see in that moment, in that jail cell slash, hospital ward, the Riddler go from vigilante to supervillain. That for me was the biggest like change. They're almost the same person with slightly different like moral compasses, and then they have a divergence. And Batman gets there first, and then Batman's like exposure to being a superhero prompts Riddler's regression to supervillain.
Okay.
So I think it's a really important scene. That's really the only thing I want to say. But also, we haven't been talking about the rain enough and the water enough.
Oh, baby, I
You
got
gotta talk
all
about
the
that.
themes. I got
Round
all
of
the
applause
themes
for
and
the
the
rain.
symbolism. Rain,
The real
shout out to the
superhero.
Foley artists in this movie. They did what needed to be done. The rain, the color red, the sound. I mean, we've been talking about the sound design a little bit, especially at the beginning. We have not talked about the
And
rain.
that grunge theme song that comes on every time the Batman has like a mood swing. Loved that.
Love that.
The Darth Vader inspiration and tease. I wish I could ask Michael Giacchino about it. Also, I
Right.
feel like we gotta talk about color because I feel like we live in a film world where movies are very drab and desaturated because of Nolan and Schneider. And I don't think in terms of filmmaking we're ever gonna get the color of like the early 2000s back, which is kind of sad. But this movie really plays with the limited color that it does have in terms of your reds and your oranges. And I thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah, I definitely had that on the agenda as well because my themes that the themes I'm thinking of, and I'm gonna jog you guys' memory because themes we can look at it from many perspectives, from a filming perspective, from an acting perspective, and cinematography and everything, or just like the plot, the storytelling. Like, what is the story about? I like to read log lines of movies after I read them to see if like that's what I took away from that. We don't often. This is why I created What We Watch, because a lot of these times we walk out of a movie and we just kind of sit with our own thoughts and we don't get to talk to everyone else about it. And like, I'm curious, if you had to say, hey, what is this Batman movie about? What would you say? Right? And sometimes I read these log lines and I'm like, oh yeah, that is what the movie's about, but that's not how I would tell someone that, hey, I want to know what this Batman movie is about. I know the Batman, I have no idea, but I want to go in with just some understanding of what I'm about to watch for 3 hours. What would you say to that? And a lot of themes that definitely stuck out for me. I'm literally obsessed. There are at least 7 scenes that I counted where, and again, I think it goes into the storytelling where he is, everybody thinks I'm in the shadows or hiding in the shadows. And no, I am the shadows. You know what I mean? And to highlight the shadows, we're having red and orange, right? And that signifies the activity. Red signifies rage. Red signifies igniting. So like people are ignited to make change, renewal, revolution, all that kind of themes that you have in a lot of in this Batman movie and other Batman movies. So it was really, really cool to see him pay attention, and those are the scenes that we sat with. The longest scenes in the movie are the scenes where there's light, red, shades of red and orange and yellow. Like he sat with those scenes a lot of times. And another theme was like the sins of the father. Another theme was lying. Lying is a theme here, right? And we can't, no one has even said that word in here. Like this was about lying. And Riddler's whole thing was, it's less about you guys being corrupt, but the way you're corrupt is that you fucking lied to me and my people in the orphanage. You said you were going to do this thing, you didn't. So there goes like And then remember when Batman made a comment about the Hippocratic Oath? Again, this idea of lying and or keeping your word is a common theme in here. Vengeance is a common theme in this movie. What else is a common theme? Also, obviously, horror, noir. We've talked about that pretty extensively. Romance, but or lack thereof. What else? What are some other good themes? So I'm jogging you guys' memory there, but there were a
Relationships.
lot of there were a lot of I like that too, romance relationships, right? And I think that there was a lot of care taken into making sure that every piece was completed, right? And sometimes I walk away from movies and I'm like, there was this scene in here. Why did you show me that? Because nothing came of that. And I think, if nothing else, whether I have problems with sequencing in the third act or whether I feel like we could have sat with other moments and shortened others, I definitely think for what it's worth, everything that they showed us had meaning. And that is the making of a very good film. You need to make sure that you don't Chekhov's gun me or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like, everything that you show me, I want to know how that matters to the story. And they did a pretty damn good job of that. Henry, Imani, you want to talk about your themes?
Yeah, like a lot of the stuff that you've touched on, like a lot of things when I first watched it, just made me think of like the grittiness and the and how dark it was. But even with that like dreary darkness, like I previously mentioned, there was still a little bit of color, and just like that balance I feel was so important because it was a noir film, but it wasn't a traditional like, your 1940s noir film. It was neo noir, so still bringing in that present day element was really important, and also like a part of like when we were talking about words earlier and people keep saying all these G words of glamorous, gravitas, grandiose. I think that was important in that it made me think of the score. The score was gravitas. It was just foreboding. It was big and grand, and I went and listened to the entire soundtrack last night on Spotify while playing video games just to just sit with it. And the score itself is just so beautiful and like magnificent. Like I just keep using these big words, like because it just relates to like the themes and just the cinematography of this movie is just insane. Like Greg Fraser, like this man, he's gonna be racking up all the awards for everything in the future.
I fully agree, and like I tell people every time in every space, I somehow we can talk about. I can bring any conversation back to horror, and the main currency for horror is sound. And so just know that as you guys are celebrating, like Imani's saying, and like we've been talking about, as you guys are celebrating the soundtrack and the score, just know that horror creates a beautiful foundation for sound and scoring to really kind of flourish and make a difference. And so that's why it shines so beautifully here, because this was a horror film. This was horrific. This was noir. This was giving you like those thrilling, suspenseful, terrifying, emotional realism, hyper realism moments where it's like, oh shit, what is about to happen next? And that's what's horrifying. And you don't have to have gore to be horrifying. You don't have to have a bunch of action scenes and stuff like that to be horrifying. Sometimes that mental kind of, the games that the Riddler plays. And I think, again, that just goes back to how powerful. The reason why the Batman is powerful to me is because of his villains. His villains be fucking with him, and I think that's very, very cool. So I love that. Yeah, definitely a good theme. Another theme, I don't know if you guys realize, but like he was always taping his victims' faces. Okay, and that goes to masking, and that's what he said in the end when he was talking to Batman through the glass. He was like, "See, y'all aren't," and that was kind of like talking to the audience. Y'all aren't getting the bigger picture. You don't need to take my mask off, because when I have my mask on is when you know the most about me. You know the truth about me. You know me completely because it's who I am completely, because I am uninhibited. I am unashamed. And so that was a theme throughout the entire movie too, which is a theme throughout every kind of Batman perspective in general, right? Because he's like, oh, Batman, Bruce Wayne. But like the way the Riddler kind of adopted it and then forced his victims, like their face is wrapped up in tape, but here are photos of them doing the things that I have a problem with, and here's their imperfections. While they're masked, I'm exposing them. And so I loved how they did that. Like that was just chef's kiss to me. But Jay Lee Jr., go ahead.
Yeah, I've kind of lost my thought, but I do want to say that I going back to the thing about Catwoman a little bit. I know it's been a while, but I think the thing that the film does really well um, is there's a part where Falcone dies, and you see the look on Selena's face. It can be interpreted a couple of different ways, but mainly I think it's because she wasn't the one that got to do it. So I think the film is aware of, I wouldn't call it a nerfing, but I think it is aware of uh, what they did in terms of maybe giving Batman a little bit of the spotlight and a little bit of what she thought was maybe owed to her. I think it's aware of that, and I think that's something that's going to push her forward. Wherever else we see her, whether it's her TV show or another movie. I think that was intentional, and I think the movie was aware of it. Um, and then as far as the movie not sitting with things as long as you might like, I think that actually works in one particular way where it's like when we're talking about like the way Batman gets hurt or gets beat up, and they don't really gloss over it for too long, but they show you. In my opinion, it worked for me. They showed you just enough to where you get the idea of like, yeah, when he bounces off that bus, he gets up very gingerly, and yeah, he walks away, but he's got a limp. Like I was okay with that because yes, he's wearing all this armor, but yes, he was still hurt. Like when he takes the shotgun blast at the end, he's down. I don't think he's invincible. I think he's tough because of his armor, but I think we see enough of what he does go through. Like when he had his shirt off and his back is all scarred up. I didn't need to see him stitching it up to get that. Um, he's been through some shit. Um, so I think to your point, yes, it's cool to sit with certain things, but in other places, I think it was more of a benefit than it was a detriment that they did it. Because I just didn't need to see that to get
Mm,
what was going on there.
Okay, cool. Any last comments, concerns, questions, gripes, celebration of themes? We've been in here 3 hours, about to close it out. Imani, thank you so much. Pages, thank you so much. Everybody up on stage, thank you so much. That was What We Watch in the Batman. That's a 3-hour movie that we just covered in 3 hours. I think we did pretty damn good. I think that was pretty good. Anything we missed? Anybody else? Anything we missed? Okay. I think we're good. Please type in whatwewatch.net and tap in. I got a newsletter coming out every week for you guys, and follow What We Watch Film TV. Thank you for talking with me about The Batman. An amazing movie, whether it was a Batman movie or not. I don't even have to compare it to it being a Batman movie. It was a fantastic movie. I will watch it. I hope it holds up. One of my favorite conversations to have about a movie is how it holds up in 5 years. So I hope that we revisit this movie in 5 years and we all enjoyed it and remember this space and say, yeah, no, this was dope. So thank you guys. Have a good Monday. Bye.